And start reading the certification. Every public body shall give notice of the date, time, and location of its meetings other than special, emergency, or continued meetings at least 3 working days in advance by posting such notice on its official public government website, if any, placing such notice in a prominent public location at which notices are regularly posted, and placing such notice at the office of the clerk of the public body, or in the case of a public body that has no clerk, at the office of the chief administrator. Reasonable notice under the circumstances of special, emergency, or continued meetings shall be given contemporaneously with the notice provided to the members of the policy body conducting the meeting. Ms. Tanner, has today's school board meeting been properly certified?
Yes, Madam Chair. On December 27, 2019, notice was provided fulfilling all criteria for VA Code Chapter 37.
Thank you, Ms. Tanner. I duly call this meeting to order. We'll proceed with the roll call.
Basine? Here. Campson? Here. Clanton? Smith?
Here.
Martin?
Here.
Jordan?
Here.
Gabriel?
Here. Can I have a motion to enter into closed executive session?
I move to enter into closed session.
Is there a second? If you could read the motion, Ms. Tanner.
Move that members of the school board go into a closed session for the purposes which are set out in subsection A of Section 2.2-3711 of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act as amended for discussion or consideration of prospective candidates for employment and assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific officers, appointees, or employees, etc., of the Norfolk Public Schools pursuant to subsection 1 of the above cited code section. The subjects of this portion of the session, in addition to the monthly personnel docket, are discussion or consideration of particular candidates, their circumstances, and possible contract provisions in connection with filling the vacancy of the office of superintendent, an update on the status of personnel investigations in connection with incidents at specific schools, and an update on the status of evaluations in central office personnel. B, discussion or consideration of disciplinary and other matters concerning students in Norfolk Public Schools that would involve the disclosure of information contained in the scholastic record pursuant to subsection 2 of the above cited code section. The subject of this section of the session is the discussion of today's regular student support services docket. And then C, consultation with legal counsel and briefing by staff members concerning actual or probable litigation or specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by counsel pursuant to subsections 7 and 8 of the above cited code section. The subjects of this section of the motion are consultation with legal counsel and briefing by staff members concerning the matters identified above. Basine?
Well, is there any further discussion? Okay, call the roll.
Okay. Basine?
Aye.
Campson?
Aye.
Clanton? Smith?
Aye.
Martin?
Aye.
Jordan?
Aye.
Gabriel?
Aye. Okay. I'd like to call our meeting to order. Welcome to all of our guests that we have. We have a full house tonight. We'll go ahead and get right to the business, and again, apologize for the delay in getting started. Ms. Tanner, if you could please do the roll call.
Basine?
Here.
Campson? Here. Clanton?
Present.
Smith?
Here.
Martin?
Here.
Jordan? Gabriel?
Present. Presentation of the colors and the Pledge of Allegiance, Ms. Hanley.
Good evening. We request that all cell phones and pages be turned off or to vibrate during the course of this meeting. It has become a tradition to honor our nation at each of our board meetings by presenting the colors. The colors tonight will be presented by the Norview High School NJROTC under the direction of First Sergeant Christopher Bertrand. Please rise and remain standing for the presentation of colors and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Color guard! Attention! Forward! March! Colors to the hatch!
Colors to the hatch!
Colors! Hut! Present! Colors! Ready? Cut!
pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order! Colors! Ready, cut! Color guard! Forward! March! Colors to the hatch!
Goes to the head.
You may be seated. And now on to our musical performance by the Lake Taylor High School, Bel Canto and Amy Kaus, along with their music teacher. They can face the audience if you prefer.
Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. There is a breaking in my soul. Oh, where are our dear fathers? Oh, where are our dear fathers? They are down in the valley praying. There is a breaking in my soul. Oh, where are our dear mothers? Oh, where are our dear mothers? They are gone to heaven shouting. There is a breaking in my soul. Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. There is a breaking in my soul.
Would you like to share a little bit about your students and your program with us and for the public? And
Absolutely. So this is part of our Bel Canto, which is our advanced group. They're an honors class. Tonight was kind of a volunteer, and I got all of these people. I'm super excited. I've been with Lake Taylor for about 4 years. We have done a lot together. We got to do the tattoo last year, many performances all throughout the community. This has been one of our first ones since January, so we're excited about that. We have a big assessment coming up in March that we're ready for. We have another concert in May, May 27th, if anyone wants to come. Another
right.
competition in May, so we're hoping to bring back some trophies there and get our name out. If y'all have any questions for the ladies, go ahead. They real nice.
okay, all right.
Any seniors?
right.
Oh, wow, okay.
Plans for after high school? Where? VCU. UVA.
All right.
Wonderful. Nice job.
We wish you all the best of luck. Thank you. We truly do have such talented students within our division. And I would like to recognize Miss Danielle Roby, who is sitting in the back. She is our music coordinator. She helps to put together all of our. Next to her is Miss Joanna Filetto. She is Georgiana. She is our art coordinator for the division as well. Thank you. Thinking of the Virginia Symphony. Next item on the agenda is our superintendent's report. Dr. Birdsong.
Good evening, Dr. Gabriel, Mr. Clanton, members of the board, and members of our community. This evening, our video will include a showing of some exciting events within the school division, to include the dedication ceremony of Camp Allen Elementary School, in which a number of our community members participated, to include our mayor, Dr. Kenneth Alexander, and Captain Jonathan Klein, the commanding officer of Naval Support Activity. So without further ado, let's enjoy the video.
Camp Allen Elementary, the fifth of 5 new schools in Norfolk, was dedicated at a special ceremony with students, staff, administrators, and guests from the city and military in attendance. This beautiful new school, which currently houses approximately 500 students, features vibrant classrooms, fully updated technology, and an awesome discovery center that has its own studio. Because it's on federal land, 80% of the nearly $27 million building was funded through the Department of Defense, while the city covered the other 20%.
It's amazing. I had no idea the program existed, that for a city school that the DoD would participate like that and would support. And this school, unique in the Norfolk Public Schools, Norfolk, unique city amongst the cities in the world. The largest naval base in the world is located here. And this support to our military students, it just can't be matched. This is fantastic.
This is what it feels like when true partnerships come together. The City of Norfolk, the school board, our military partners, the teachers, the staff, and Ms. Copeland and her staff has just done an amazing job with the children here. I feel so incredibly blessed to be here as a part of this wonderful experience. These kids are going to thrive in this building.
The city and the Norfolk Public Schools, together we built 5 schools. Built 5 schools on time and under budget, and kids are now learning in these environments. Today we're excited to be here, and congratulations to Principal Copeland, to our administration, and to, of course, the students here at Camp Allen.
With years of planning, construction, and hard work fully completed, both the students and staff are able to enjoy every aspect of the new building, thanks to outstanding partners who put children first.
It's way bigger and a lot brighter than our other school, because our other school was dim and kind of small. It has, since this is a big school, it has way more resources than the other school.
So project done. We're so excited. But it was the culmination of 2.5 years of really seeing the manifestation, like this is going to be real, and now it's real, and we get to experience every nook and cranny of the building and occupy every space of the building to have some awesome learning opportunities. So it's a great feeling.
At a special ceremony, Norfolk Technical Center student Keyshawn Foreman became a registered youth apprentice through the Virginia Department of Labor and is currently working for IA Electric, thanks to the knowledge he gained during his time at NTC. Keyshawn will continue his education at the Technical Center through fully funded night classes, while also learning at his job. Those who know him best attribute his success to his willingness to learn everything he can while attending NTC.
Well, actually, Keyshawn took it upon himself to enroll himself into the Technical Center. He's always done well in school. He's been an honor roll student, and he's just been a good kid, and I'm just proud that he made this move, and it looks like it's paying off for him, and I'm just so proud of him.
Keyshawn has been a very excellent student in the class. He's maintained the A average probably for the 2 years he was actually here. And he often tries to share his knowledge with other students, as well as participating in a lot of hands-on work in the classroom, which he thoroughly enjoys. So it's like a labor of love for him and not just a learning experience.
The classroom setting, the book knowledge, the hands-on learning, it all kind of worked together and got me the job. Even the basic learning how to do an interview process was able to kind of secure me the position of being I guess you say, a friendly person with my boss and my coworkers. So it all played out well. The most important thing to me was just putting myself out there, putting together the work that I needed to get to where I needed to be. So really just application of yourself can get you to where you need to be.
The Norfolk Technical Center hosted its annual College and Career Fair during Career and Technical Education Month in February. Colleges including Norfolk State and Old Dominion, along with businesses such as Lindsay Brothers Plumbing, were among the 50 colleges and businesses that participated. Also present were branches of the U.S. military and local police and fire departments. Students were able to interact with the participants in a very relaxed environment.
It's run wonderfully. It's so organized. Students are coming in at different paces. They're coming in with good questions. They know what to ask. They're not here just to play. It's organized and they know what they're doing, these kids do.
It's very diverse. It's given a lot of different tables, showing me different things. Colleges I've already applied to and also different things about cosmetology, which I do on the side.
Students use this opportunity to gather plenty of information to help shape the next phase of their lives.
It's been good. I feel like I know what I want to do in the future, and all the information they give me, it helped me benefit. It's given me enough information to know what I'm going to do in the future.
We have a lot of opportunities. They're coming here, they're checking applications, going directly to the emails, letting us know that they can check us directly to get in the colleges we want to get in. About the different classes like cosmetology, they're telling us about the salons that we can visit for internships and stuff like that.
8th grade Algebra 1 students at Crossroads School discovered a unique way to learn about slope and y-intercept using Barbies. Instead of sitting in a classroom, these students ventured to a third-floor balcony where they dropped the dolls attached to rubber bands to see which team could get their Barbie closest to the second floor. This activity enabled these students to better understand how algebraic concepts are used every day in the world around them.
Today, we're using the slope and the line of best fit in a real-world situation to see what would happen if we dropped a Barbie and calculating how many rubber bands it takes to safely get her to the second floor. It's better than sitting in the classroom because you get to see the actual effects of what you're learning.
They're actually using slope to solve a problem, and they're using a line of best fit to make predictions about that. They're really engaged in the activity. They're having a good time. When I'm able to ask questions, they're able to tell me what they're learning from it. It puts it into real life versus just on paper, and they get to see it actually applied.
I don't really like sitting in class, like doing stuff. I like doing hand activities, and it helps me learn better. It was a little challenging at first, but then I picked it up, and it was like I got used to it, and I think I learned a lot from it.
Granby Elementary held their annual STEAM Day, which highlighted learning in the areas of science, technology, engineering, the arts, and math. Students in grades 3 through 5 showcased their science projects in the auditorium, and all students participated in various STEAM-related activities throughout the school.
Today we are having our all-day STEAM Day, where the children in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade all completed scientific investigations they've been working on since November, and they brought in their boards last week, and we have them all on display today. And we have different types of engineering and STEAM-type stations all throughout the building for each child to be able to participate in. Instead of having a nighttime science fair where only a few children get to participate, this way every child in the school gets to participate. This is, I believe, our 3rd year doing it during the daytime, and because they get to run around and do lots of hands-on activities, they're super excited. They follow directions, and they just enjoy seeing what their peers have also done.
The Coleman Place community came out for a night of wellness and fun as Family Fitness Night was held at Coleman Place Elementary. Those in attendance enjoyed different stations that included CPR, yoga, and Zumba.
It's real important because I want to have the community out with all of our students, and then I also want the families to get together to be able to work out together and then enjoy each other's company and kind of motivate and encourage each other. I think the students are getting out kind of some self-discipline, self-confidence, being able to encourage their family members and show everybody what they could be doing and how it will help their lifestyle and change their lifestyle.
For more news stories and other information about Norfolk Public Schools, watch NPS Now on WNPS-TV 47 or the NPS website.
I'd like to thank the staff of Channel 47 for again putting together an amazing video. We appreciate that every month. Before closing the superintendent's report, we have a special presentation this evening for a very special staff member of the administration. The Virginia School Boards Association has declared February the 17th through February 21st as School Board Clerk Appreciation Week. So this evening, we would like to recognize Ms. Karen Tanner, the acting clerk of the board, for the important work that she does on behalf of the school board of the city of Norfolk. So at this time, I would ask that members of the school board assembled in front of the dais to acknowledge Ms. Tanner as I read the proclamation that honors and recognizes her contribution. We have flowers too. They were just too massive to carry, so we'll make sure you get that, Ms. Tanner. Okay. The proclamation reads, proclamation by the school board of the city of Norfolk in recognition of Virginia School Board Clerk Appreciation Week. Whereas the Virginia School Boards Association has declared February the 17th through 21st, 2020 as School Board Clerk Appreciation Week as an acknowledgement of the important service school board clerks provide their communities, and whereas the school board of the city of Norfolk wishes to participate in this important observance by recognizing the contributions of acting school board clerk Karen Tanner, and whereas Ms. Tanner has stepped in to handle the important duties of the Norfolk School Board Clerk during a time of transition, and whereas school board clerks, such as Ms. Tanner, are responsible for keeping accurate records of the meetings, proceedings, and official acts of school boards, and whereas Ms. Tanner often communicates with parents, employees, and members of the public who have questions about school board proceedings, including how to sign up to address their school board, and by virtue of those community connections, regularly serves as an ambassador for the school division. And whereas Ms. Tanner, in the performance of her duties, is often required to work extra hours attending board meetings and supporting the day-to-day business of the school board. And now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the school board of the city of Norfolk, do hereby recognize the many and varied contributions of school board clerks in general and the diligent work of Ms. Tanner specifically, and therefore commit to recognizing February the 17th through the 21st, 2020 as School Board Clerk Appreciation Week. Please join me in recognizing Ms. Tanner. So, Ms. Tanner will receive, of course, the proclamation from the school board, and there's also a certificate of recognition from the Virginia School Boards Association and one from Governor Ralph Northam. So, again, congratulations, Ms. Tanner. Thank you.
Get in the middle. Yes. So
please.
just remain
in front, please.
Yes, yes.
Thank
yes.
you.
I am excited. You all surprised me, but I have a surprise for you. This is still School Board Appreciation Month, and so we want to recognize our school board members. And Channel 47, we have a special video tribute for you all, so please show the video.
Thank you, School Board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We recognize you for School Board Appreciation Month.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Because of you, our students have what they need to be successful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Because you provide us so many options and opportunities to excel academically and athletically.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Because you are always making sure students are being prepared for the jobs of tomorrow, today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Because of you, I can transport our future leaders.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias.
Because of you, I can feed young minds.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Because of you, I assist the parents, the students, and the district in becoming the cornerstone of a proudly diverse community.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Noel Gabriel, Mom.
Thank you, Carlos Clinton.
Thank you, Christine Smith.
Thank you, Adele Martin.
Thank you, Lauren Campson. Thanks, Tanya, Mom.
Thank you, Rodney Jordan.
Because of you is why we do what we do. Thank you for allowing us to serve you.
Meeting adjourned.
We want to thank all of the staff and PTA for coming together and putting together such a great video. To tell you all thank you, Tanya and Noel, we thought we'd do something extra special for you all. So right now, Dr. Birdsong has for you all Virginia School Boards Association special certificates of recognition that goes to each and every one of you for your hard work as board members for the city of Norfolk. So she's going to pass them out to you real quick. Now let's give them a hand. They didn't necessarily get in order when they went down. And some of you may or may not know that Mr. Jordan serves as the VSBA president for Norfolk, for the state of Virginia. Yeah. And while she's doing that, I'm going to ask Georgiana Filio to make her way over here to the dais. We have another special presentation for you all. We have students from our 5 high schools that are presenting special photography gifts to you all as a token of appreciation for all that you do. Is Dr. Birdsong still down there? Okay. There you go. Their names are on the back. Okay, great. You may, yeah. And then Daniel's going to get a shot of you all with all of the artwork. And Georgiana, while she's doing that, you want to share a little bit about our big class, what they do?
Oh, sure.
Just come right here. There you go.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Georgiana Filio. I'm the Senior Coordinator for Art Education for Norfolk Public Schools. And so tonight, we are presenting on behalf of the Art Department. We want to thank you for your ongoing commitment to our students and our teachers. And what we're presenting to you tonight is artwork from each one of our high schools, from our photography programs, which we have both colored digital photos and darkroom photos. And you're going to see a mix of both of those practices here tonight. And so we really hope that you enjoy them.
could not leave our student representatives out of the recognition. Ladies switch. There you go. So give them all a round of applause. While they're being seated, we still have some other observances and recognitions, and for the month of February, we have a proclamation. And, well, you know what? I just thought about it. Oh, no. National School Counseling Week was held on February 3rd through the 7th, and we're coming back to that now. April Harmon, you can kind of make your way. Whereas the school counselors are employed in public and private schools to help students reach their full potential, and whereas school counselors are actively committed to helping students explore their abilities, strengths, interests, and talents as these traits relate to career awareness and development, and whereas school counselors help parents focus on ways to further the educational, personal, and social growth of their children, and whereas school counselors work with teachers and other educators to help students explore their potential and set realistic goals for themselves, and whereas school counselors seek to identify and utilize community resources that can enhance and complement comprehensive school counseling programs and help students become productive members of society, and whereas comprehensive developmental school counseling programs are considered an integral part of the educational process that enables all students to achieve success in school. Now therefore it be resolved on February 19th that the School Board of the City of Norfolk hereby proclaims February 3rd, 2020 as National School Counseling Week. And I'd like to ask April Harmon to come forward to receive this proclamation. Oh, you're behind me. Give her a hand. Music in our schools. We had a great presentation. Oh yeah, thank you. A great presentation today by Lake Taylor's Bel Canto. Whereas the study of music contributes to young people's development through heightened skills in listening, reading, self-expression, and creativity, and whereas music education in the schools includes a broad range of types of music and active musical experiences, and whereas music and other arts significantly enhance the morale and quality of the school environment, and whereas it is stated objective of the public school to prepare children for a productive role in our society. And whereas the National Association of Music Education has designated March as Music in Our Schools Month, focusing on the theme, Music Changes Lives. Now therefore it be resolved on February 19th, the School Board of the City of Norfolk hereby proclaims March 2020 as Music in Our Schools Month. Daniel Roby, can you come forward, please? Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank you. Next we have March is Youth Art Month. Whereas the study of art leads to a fuller, more meaningful life, and whereas art education provides substantial educational benefits to all elementary, middle, and secondary students, and whereas art education develops students' creative potential and improves problem solving and critical thinking skills by reinforcing and bringing to life what students learn in other subjects, and whereas art education teaches sensitivity to beauty, order, and other expressive qualities, and also gives students a deeper understanding of multicultural values and beliefs. And whereas art education advances student mastery in art education, production and history, art criticism, and aesthetics. And now therefore it be resolved on February 19th, 2020 that the School Board of the City of Norfolk hereby proclaims March 2020 as Youth Art Month. Georgiana Philo, please come forward. Thank you. March is Social Work Month. Whereas the social work profession of generations has worked to strengthen the well-being and meet the basic needs of all people, especially people who are vulnerable, oppressed, and living in poverty. Whereas this year's Social Work Month theme is Social Workers, Generation Strong. embodies the heroic work of social workers who are for the more than a century have worked to make our society a better place to live. Now therefore it be resolved on February 19, 2020, in recognition of the numerous contributions made by America's social workers, we, the School Board of the City of Norfolk, proclaim the month of March 2020 as National Social Work Month. Ann Burney, an NPS social worker, please come forward to receive this proclamation. National School Breakfast Week is March 2nd through the 6th, 2020. Whereas the school breakfast program has served our nation admirably since it was permanently established in 1975, and whereas the school breakfast program is dedicated to the health and well-being of our nation's children, and whereas the school breakfast program joins and has been joined through the years by many other excellent child nutrition programs, and whereas there is evidence and continued need for nutrition education and awareness of the value of school nutrition programs. Now therefore we, the School Board of the City of Norfolk, do hereby proclaim the week of March 2nd through the 6th as National School Breakfast Week with the theme, School Breakfast Out of This World. And we encourage all residents to become aware and concerned about their children and their own nutrition habits in hope of achieving a more healthier citizenry for today and the future. Lisa Winter, Senior Director of School Nutrition, can you please come forward? And next, the time of year we always love in the month of March is Read Across America Day. Whereas the School Board of the City of Norfolk stands firmly committed to promoting reading as a catalyst for our students' future academic success, their preparation for America's jobs of the future, and their ability to compete in a global economy. And whereas the National Education Association's Read Across America, a national celebration of Dr. Seuss's 116th birthday on March 2nd, 2020, promotes reading and adult involvement in the education of our community students and believes you're never too old, too wacky, too wild to pick up a book and read to a child. And now therefore it be resolved on February 19, 2020, that the School Board of the City of Norfolk calls on the citizens of Norfolk to assure that every child is in a safe place reading together with a caring adult on March 2nd, 2020. And be it further resolved that this body enthusiastically endorses NEA's Read Across America and recommits our community to engage in programs and activities to make America's children the best readers in the world. Diane Outlaw, our EAN representative, if she's here tonight, can she please come forward?
It's right there. I'm in school to read.
And Madam Chair, this concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tanner. And just for the record, what is the latest night that you have stayed back taking care of school board business?
1 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, she's a very hard worker. Now we will move on to the citizen comments on agenda items only. And again, citizens are welcome to come and speak at our regular school board meetings as it pertains to the agenda topics only. Please come forward to the podium. The podium may be adjusted to suit your height. State your name, and if you have a child in Norfolk Public Schools and if you are employed, state your position and give facts and other relevant data. And if you represent a group or organization, ask the others to stand and rise and be recognized. Please give any written comments or supporting material to the clerk of record, Ms. Tanner, and speakers are limited to an appearance of 3 minutes, and when the clerk signals that your time is up, please quickly end your comments to be seated. If you go over the 3 minutes, I will politely hit the gavel to let you know that your time is up and to move on to the next individual, again, to be respectful for all who are here wishing to speak. Ms. Tanner, if you could please proceed with the speakers.
Madam Chair, we have 8 speakers. First is Ruth Osorio, followed by Loretta Eaton.
Good evening, Norfolk Public School Board, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak with you tonight. At work at ODU, I'm known as Dr. Ruth Osorio, a researcher and educator on disability, writing, and social change. In my community, I'm known as Ruth, an empathetic neighbor and proud member of Virginia Organizing. In my family, I am simply Mommy, by my two young children, one of whom will start at Larchmont Elementary School next year. I share this with you all to emphasize that I am here as a scholar, a member of our community, and a parent of 2 future NPS students. Last week, I opened my copy of the Virginia Pilot to find a front page story titled, quote, "Unexplained Bruises and a Call to the Police. Now more Norfolk teachers are on leave after child abuse allegations." I'm sure you all read the devastating story about the special education teachers who physically abused their students, and I'm sure that we all agree that this is completely unacceptable. The news coverage shines light on what we already knew, that our youth with disabilities are often denied the care and education they are legally entitled to. Out-of-school suspensions are a less extreme but still incredibly pernicious way that students with disabilities are harmed in our schools. As you already know, students with disabilities in Norfolk are twice as likely to be suspended than non-disabled students. The problem isn't located to just disability. African American students are 4 times as likely to be suspended than white students, and we don't have the data for Black students with disabilities, but I'm sure we can imagine it's not great. The story of the abuse these poor children experience by the teachers remind us that there are a few bad teachers, but they are in the small minority. Overwhelmingly, public school teachers are doing their best to teach and serve our students. The parents are too. So we need dynamic, district-wide solutions to solve what is clearly a systemic problem. I met with most of you last summer to talk about my concern about the high rates of school suspension in Norfolk Public Schools. You all agreed with me that this is a problem that demands a solution, that we need to work together to dismantle the school-to-prison pipeline. Well, we are here tonight to give you evidence-based, fiscally responsible, and culturally responsive solutions. You're working on the budget right now. This is the moment to show the parents, students, and community members here in Norfolk that you prioritize the well-being of students with disabilities. If anyone here supports restorative justice practices, those that are proven by research to nurture student growth in our communities, please stand or raise your hand as you are able. We call on the school board to prioritize positive behavioral interventions and supports, also known as PBS, with fidelity. And by the way, PBS was created specifically to support students with disabilities. We also call for in-school suspensions in all schools, teachers and staff training in implicit bias, de-escalation, and restorative justice, and training for parents on how to advocate for their children. This is the time to act. This is the moment we can make schools a safer place for all of our students, and I hope we can all rise to that occasion. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Acting Superintendent Birdsong and school board members. Hi, my name is Loretta Eaton, and I'm a member of Norfolk chapter of Virginia Organizing. I am a grandmother of 2 grandchildren who go to Lake Taylor High and the Stedham Academy on Compostela Road, and my daughter of a 2009 Lake Taylor High School graduate, and myself, a 2014 graduate of TCC Norfolk campus with a business degree. We at Virginia Organizing believe that it is the utmost importance to reduce suspensions and expulsions and dismantle the school prison pipeline. It is well documented that students of color and students with disabilities are the most impacted by harsh disciplinary policies. There are alternatives that we believe that the school board and the superintendent should implement. We ask that the school board and the superintendent put the following items on their budget: structured in-school suspensions in all schools with instructors who are well paid and trained in restorative justice and positive behavior intervention and support, PBIS, you know that. Professional development for the staff in PBIS with fidelities, restorative justice, implementing bias, student engagement, and disgruntled, I can't even get that word out. Okay, I'm gonna move on. Training for, sorry, excuse me. Training for parents to advocate for their children. These programs are evident based on and having been proven to increase student safety, student intervention, and student wellness. The reality is that there is no evidence to support the presence of security personnel in our school. However, there is plenty of evidence that demonstrates the positive impact of programs such as restorative justice, PBIS, and for students, teachers, and our community. We in Virginia Organizing believe in visionary yet practical evidence-based solutions to our school problems, and we hope you will join us to promoting safety, quality, and impact in our schools. Thank you very much.
Next, we have Ciara Lewis, followed by Phillip Hawkins.
Good evening. My name is Ciara Lewis. I am a journalist. I'm a daughter, a sister, and a member of this community. I'm here tonight on behalf of Virginia Organizing, and I would just like to say that we do our children a disservice when we are complicit in perpetuating the school-to-prison pipeline. We owe it to our children to advocate and invest in their futures. Schools are not training grounds for prisons. Schools are not training grounds for prisons. The way to foster a conducive learning environment is to implement positive behavior interventions and supports, structure in-school suspensions with plans dedicated to conflict resolution and training on implicit bias, restorative justice, and student engagement. Children are more than bottom lines. Children are more than bottom lines, and these practice along with several other holistic approaches have been proven to keep our kids in school and keep our communities thriving and safe. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
School Board Chair, Dr. Gabriel, Vice Chair, Mr. Clanton, members of the school board, Acting Superintendent Dr. Birdsong, Clerk of the Board, and all of the public tonight. My name is Phillip Hawkins. Good evening. And I am a teacher, a pre-K teacher at P.B. Young Senior Elementary School. I'm also a resident of the city of Norfolk and a proud graduate of Norfolk Public Schools. I'm very proud to say that my beginning of my education started right at Camp Allen, so it was interesting to see that opening today at the new Camp Allen. I attended the old Camp Allen many, many years ago as a kindergarten student. Tonight I am here to speak about the upcoming budget. I know the administration and the school board is working very hard, and before I go any further, I do want to say thank you. That was what this meeting was about at the beginning. We want to thank each and every one of you. I want to personally thank you for your service to our division, to our students, to our staff, and to our city, because without your dedication and your commitment to our children, we would not be here today to be able to continue this great work. So we need your support, and we look forward to continuing to work with you. But tonight I do want to be the voice to say we want you to continue to work harder. We know you have been working very hard. We see your deliberations month after month over the issues that matter to our children and to our families. So with that being said, we really must focus on our staff. We've heard that already tonight by Virginia Organizing, and I am a part of that process in one of our schools. I am the chair of the PBIS committee at PB Young Senior. And I'm also proud to say that we have our student representatives from our Norfolk School Board, Ms. Hanley and Ms. Warren. They are working with us at PB Young to launch our mentoring program for this year. So we will be launching a mentoring program that will work with our high school juniors and seniors in our division, as well as other partners with Old Dominion University and Norfolk State, to help our children to have a positive role model every week in our schools. So thank you so much for the work that they're doing with us. But I also really need to stress that the pay, our pay for our salaries, we need to really focus on that. We've heard even at the state level with the General Assembly, they are working very hard to adjust the biennial budget that's coming down. But we want to make sure that those dollars that they send from the state, they don't get watered down. We need to figure out those revenue streams that will be recurring, that will help us to sustain a measurable salary increase for all of our staff, especially our teachers and our ESPs, because we know we are still far underpaid in the state of Virginia. So I would ask that you would support that, and I look forward to working with you in this process. Thank you.
Next, we have Vivian Hester, followed by Stacey Armstead. Vivian Hester, followed by Stacey Armstead.
Good evening. And congratulations to the school board members for your work, and Ms. Tanner. I'm Vivian Hester, and I am the president of the Concerned Citizens of Booker T. Washington High School. I'm here to speak about the budget tonight because I'm very much concerned. The historic Booker T. Washington High School, we've come before you many times asking for support, asking for a voice in the community when you make decisions about Booker T. Washington. Sorry. But we have seen very little energy that tells us that we're moving forward. But in December 2019, there was a request for a feasibility study for Booker T. Washington High School. And this study was to look at the academic program. Booker T. Washington is the School of the Arts. And we have said over and over again that we would like a program that will bring our children into the 21st century with skills and internships that will match this, the needs of the community. This study will allow us to be able to give our children pathways to employment, and we would like to see this happen. When you work on the budget, we are asking that you do allow this study to happen. We are looking at how the community is waiting for something to happen with Booker T. Washington High School. And this study will give us an opportunity to participate in planning for our children there, planning for the pipeline to higher ed and to career development. I am here representing the members of the Concerned Citizens of Booker T. Washington High School, the Foundation of Booker T. Washington, and the PTA. So we have the support, and we are asking you to please do not delete that proposal. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Gabriel, distinguished members of the school board, and Acting Superintendent Dr. Birdsong. My name is Stacey Armstead. I'm a citizen of Norfolk, a graduate of Booker T. Washington High School, and an assistant principal at Lake Taylor High School, and a proud parent of a NPS graduate and an 8th grader who attends Blair Middle School. This year, I have the honor to serve as the president of the Norfolk Secondary Principals Association. At this time, I would like to ask other members of the NSPA to please stand.
They're at home working. There we go.
Thank you. NSPA is committed to the school improvement process In pursuit of this commitment, we come before you in a supportive stance to provide recommendations that are aligned to our district efforts, which include school safety and security, equity for all students, and best practices to provide a nurturing learning environment for all students and staff. As NPS continues to be the cornerstone of a proudly diverse community, it's necessary for us to keep this focus as each school requires a unique set of instructional and operational supports. We feel strongly this can be accomplished by the following recommendations: providing competitive wages to attract more security officers and bus drivers, allotting for 12-month school counselors, hiring a full-time attendance technician at each school, reinstituting deans at the high school level, having a testing coordinator to support data analysis, and allocating for funding to continue our efforts with NIMSI, the National Math Science Initiative, to support instruction at the middle and high school levels. We acknowledge that some of our recommendations are already a work in progress. We are thankful for the many invitations and opportunities that have been extended to us by our acting superintendent, Dr. Birdsong, to have a seat at the table and have our voices to be heard. Many of the secondary level administrators have a long-standing commitment to Norfolk Public Schools and serve as key communicators in building stronger schools for stronger communities. Again, thank you, and we look forward to having our recommendations considered to meet the needs of our children and community.
Next, we have Vicki Greco.
Good evening. My name is Vicki Greco. I'm a Lake Taylor graduate and an NPS parent of 2 gifted learners. I'm the relieved parent of a twice exceptional Maury High School graduate who received special education services as a gifted learner and benefited from the later start time of her open campus high school afternoon session at the Norfolk Tech Center for her junior and senior year. As a mom, former school speech therapist, League of Women Voters of Southampton Roads education director, I serve on advisory committees to the school board. I'm here again tonight, on this Wednesday night, during another legislative session, another budget season, another search for superintendent, another school year being led by another school board chair, as a member of Norfolk Gains, Growing and Investing in Norfolk Schools. We formed in 2012 when our school system was faced with instability, leadership change, leadership churn, and I'm here tonight to talk about priorities. These priorities are not new. We've expanded on them, and I do second Ms. Armstead's budget request, but I do want to say here tonight, as I've done at other nights, that we are here to fight for the priorities that best serve our children, their teachers, the staff members who serve them, their families and school communities. So I encourage everyone to tell their neighbors and friends and families to come back to Granby High School on March 4th and talk about budget priorities. But I'm going to be really quick tonight. I'm going to touch on people, places, and things. Our littlest people, our youngest students, our youngest citizens deserve better. We need school counselors in every building. We need well-trained and supported and well-compensated teachers, especially special education teachers and paraprofessionals who serve our children, who care for them, many of whom are nonverbal, so they can't tell us how their day goes. We need to go back to the budget, the staffing levels before our economy's bottom fell out in 2008. We need to expand on the people who care about our students and teach our students. Places, the school buildings that our teachers and staff and our students are asked to come to day after day, some of the conditions are deplorable. I know that we're talking about the operations budget, but we need to talk about maintenance, and we need to talk about what our General Assembly is going to do for the aging facilities. I'll just skip to things because I'm running out of time. and I've run out of time, but I will say, I've watched this school board. There are our parent conflicts of interest. I would like for the budget to include independent Norfolk Public School Council. And then, really quickly, I'm going to say it. The non-consent protocols that have been, agenda protocols that have been enacted, it prevents many people from being able to speak at school board meetings, and I'm really disappointed in that leadership. Thank you.
Very much.
Dr. Gabriel, technically we had 7 speakers, not 8, and that concludes our speakers on the agenda items.
Thank you. Next, I would like to have a motion on the floor to approve the consent agenda minus student case number 3.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda minus student case number 3.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing there's none, Ms. Tanner, please call the roll.
Basine?
Aye.
Campson?
Aye.
Clanton?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
Martin?
Aye.
Jordan?
Aye.
Gabriel?
Aye. Thank you. Okay. The next item that we have on our list on the agenda will be our monthly financial report. Item 5.01, Dr. Birdsong. We've modified it.
Okay.
We've modified it.
Good evening, Dr. Gabriel, Mr. Clanton, members of the school board. I will ask Ms. Rhonda Ingram, our Executive Director of Business and Finance, to come forward to speak to our financial reports from January 2019. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Birdsong. Good evening, Dr. Gabriel, Mr. Clanton, school board members. I will be giving you a high-level overview of our 7th accounting period for this fiscal year, which ended January 31st, 2020. Revenue received at the end of January was $175.6 million, or 51.6% of the total budget. This compares with 52.8% the same time period in fiscal year 2019 and 52.5% in fiscal year 2018. On the expenditure side, for the same time period, we expensed or encumbered $179.2 million, or 52.6% of our total budget. And this compared to 49.9% for the same time period in last fiscal year and 49.2% in fiscal year 2018. And we had no budget transfers that were $50,000 or greater for the time period. And then the next page is just a different type of explanation or presentation of the revenues and expenditures for both the general fund and child nutrition funds, with footnotes explaining any variances that were basically 10% or higher.
Any questions? Can I have a motion to approve the monthly financial reports as presented?
I move to approve the monthly financial report as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? Ms. Tanner, please call the roll.
Basine?
Aye.
Campson?
Aye.
Clanton?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
Martin?
Aye.
Jordan?
Aye.
Gabriel?
Aye. Next item on our agenda, student case number 3, item 5.02. Can I have a motion on the floor to approve the administration's request for student case number 3? Your motion?
I move to accept the administration's recommendation for student case number 3.
There's a second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Jordan?
just want to say I am supportive of the recommendation. I just think we need to have some different options, and so I just want to say that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jordan. We will proceed with calling the roll.
Basine? Aye. Campson? Clanton?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
Martin?
Aye.
Jordan?
Nay.
Gabriel?
Aye. The next item that we have on the agenda is policy BDDHKD. This is a policy that the board is working on with regards to public participation at our school board meetings. Because this is a policy change, we are going through a first reading and then a second reading. And so at this point in time, it is just to make the public aware, to know that we are receiving comment on this policy change. We welcome comment. Email, phone call, you can email the clerk, you can email any one of us, and we will be accepting that. So, and then you can also speak at the next meeting as well on this item. The next item that we have on our agenda is item 5.04, vote on the appointment of the superintendent and contract approval. Do I have a motion on the floor to support the appointment of the superintendent?
I move to approve the appointment of the superintendent. Great. Can we go ahead with the resolution? Okay. Let's see. I have a resolution to accept the appointment of Dr. Sharon I. Birdsong as superintendent of schools. Whereas Dr. Sharon I. Birdsong currently has led the division as acting superintendent of schools since July 5th, 2019, and has held several positions in Norfolk Public Schools as executive director of the Office of Interagency Collaboration and Wraparound Services, Chief of Staff, Senior Director of Alternative Options, Executive Director of Secondary Schools, and Executive Director of Human Resources and Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. Whereas she is highly experienced, award-winning, and nationally recognized professional educator, where in 2005, Dr. Birdsong was named the Outstanding Middle School Principal of Virginia by the Virginia Association of Secondary School Principals, and in 2006, she was named the National Middle School Principal of the Year by the National Association of Secondary School Principals. Whereas these awards attest to Dr. Birdsong's success in improving student academic achievement, focusing on closing achievement gaps, improving the school's overall learning environment, resolving complex problems involving the local school community, and ensuring high expectations for all students. Whereas Dr. Birdsong has served in the ranks of a classroom teacher to assistant principal and building level principal, she has demonstrated her knowledge and experience at all 3 levels, elementary, middle, and high school. She has even taught a course on the collegiate level for aspiring classroom teachers. Whereas as an accomplished administrator, she has fulfilled the requirements to possess a Virginia Department of Education superintendent's license. Whereas since July 5th, 2019, Dr. Birdsong has demonstrated her ability to lead our division through complex challenges while maintaining a steady hand and continuous focus on what's best for our students, teachers, and staff. Now therefore be it resolved that the school board of the City of Norfolk appoints Norfolk Public Schools Administrator Dr. Sharon I. Birdsong as Superintendent of Schools effective February 19th, 2020, and authorizes the school board chair to execute the approved contract.
I second the motion.
Thank you. Is there further discussion?
Madam Chair.
Yeah. Mr. Jordan?
Just for clarity, so we are voting on the contract as well as the appointment. So I just want to say in terms of the contract itself, I think that it's important for the board to be clear on the value of the contract. I would recommend that we vote when we have that information. But outside of that, those are only comments I have at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Ms. Basine?
Yes, as we discussed earlier, I too feel that we need to rectify some of the questions that were raised regarding the contract, which we received today at just 15 minutes prior to our meeting. So I think that it warrants some more time to digest and get some of those questions answered. So I'm asking to postpone the vote.
Okay, thank you very much.
Likewise, there were several questions that were raised in closed session that weren't thoroughly addressed, and I do believe that those should be addressed before we vote on this.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Clanton?
I do believe that the board has had an extensive and exhaustive conversation over several months regarding this process and including today. To go in depth about the contract I think that in many cases, questions that were raised, I asked, would they do any harm? Would they change the purpose? And in many of those instances, it's no. So I encourage us to move forward, and I encourage you to move forward.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clanton. Anyone else? I will be voting yes on the resolution read appointing Dr. Birdsong as Superintendent of Norfolk Public Schools. For the many reasons that have been shared, I support her appointment. I respect the fact that she is a classroom teacher, a building level principal, and has worked in a variety of central office positions. She is committed to exceeding academic expectations, fostering safe and nurturing school environments, and supporting our valued teachers so that we can attract and attain and attract and retain the very best. Henry Ford has a quote that I like to reference. Coming together is a beginning. Keeping together is progress, and working together is success. Dr. Birdsong's success is our students' success, and when our students succeed, we will be a better Norfolk. Ms. Tanner, please call the roll.
Basine?
Nay.
Campson?
Yes.
Clanton?
Yes.
Smith?
No.
Martin?
Aye.
Jordan?
Nay.
Gabriel?
Aye. The motion passes. Congratulations, Dr. Birdsong.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Gabriel, Mr. Clanton, members of the school board, and all the stakeholders of Norfolk Public Schools. It will come as no surprise to you that this is a very emotional moment for me. Quite simply, I love Norfolk Public Schools. I love Norfolk Public Schools, having spent the vast majority of my career right here within the school division. Public education is a noble profession, so I am proud to be its advocate. As I look around this room this evening, I know without a shadow of a doubt, each of you can name a favorite teacher who inspired you, fanned the flames of passion for the career you have now, or maybe even saved your life, and I mean literally saved your life. Throughout my career, I have been in many classrooms, first as a teacher, and later as an assistant principal, a building principal, and ultimately a central office administrator. I always feel a profound sense of hope when I see a master teacher at work. Ensuring that children learn is one thing, but inspiring a lifetime love for the acquisition of knowledge is even more wonderful. It's life-changing. I am humbled by your faith that I will be the kind of leader that will nurture such an environment in Norfolk Public Schools. As I say that, I acknowledge that the vote for my appointment was not unanimous. While that was somewhat disappointing, I am not dismayed. I am committed to working with each and every board member to the very best of my ability, regardless of how he voted, because our children deserve our absolute best cooperative efforts. Together, we can do what's needed to provide each and every child in Norfolk Public Schools the high-quality education that he or she deserves. Together, I wholeheartedly believe that we can accomplish this goal. Children first, always, always. I thank you for this wonderful, wonderful opportunity.
Dr. Birdsong, it gives me great pleasure to move on to the next item, our superintendent's proposed budget for 2020-2021.
Thank you. morning. Dr. Gabriel, Mr. Clanton, members of the school board, and community stakeholders. Thank you for this opportunity to present the superintendent's proposed operating budget for fiscal year 2020-2021. As you are all aware, the development of an expenditure plan for a school division is one of the most important jobs of leadership because it provides the resources that drive progress. For example, I encourage you to read the school division and school level accomplishments page in the budget document. This page is testimony to the dedication of our employees who have worked diligently to address academic achievement and the needs of our 29,500 children within the resources provided to them. This evening, we will focus on the $348.3 million operating budget. Rhonda Ingram, the Executive Director of Budget and Finance, and I will share in the delivery of this presentation. Ms. Ingram will address the overall framework and the process for the budget development, including how the school board's goals aligned with that development. She will then review enrollment and revenue projections, as well as the sources of those revenue projections. Following that, I will outline the specific priorities that lay the foundation for developing my budgetary recommendations, and then delve into the specific of those recommendations, including the rationale behind the allocations. Ms. Ingram will wrap up the presentation with an examination of health care costs, how we balance the budget, and what the expenditures are projected to be by cost category. We will conclude the presentation by taking your questions, thus beginning that first step towards finalizing a budget for the 2020-2021 fiscal year. Mrs. Ingram.
Thank you, Dr. Bursong. In presenting the budget, Dr. Bursong has outlined the format, so I will just go right into page 3, which basically covers, out of the school board accountability plan, your 3 major goals for the division, and then behind that are the 10 school board priorities. Okay. Next, briefly, the budget process. In October, really, we began looking at developing the budget for the next school year. There are activities for November and December, and I'm going to hop right to January, February timeframe, where this month we are presenting Dr. Bursong's budget to you. We had crossover last week at the House and Senate, and we are still waiting to get the calc tool to calculate what that means to us. We did get some information to share with us as to what the House and the Senate included in their versions, but we're waiting on the calculation tool to see what the monetary impact will be. And in March, there's a public hearing on March the 4th at Granby High School at 7 p.m. And school board is scheduled to vote on this budget on March the 18th. And the key date here is April the 1st is when the school board proposed budget is due to City Council. Next, I'm giving a high-level overview of our current year budget. We have a total of $400 million, and it's broken down by the major sources. In the blue pie chart is our current operating budget, which is $336.1 million. We have $40 million in grants this year, $30.7 million in federal grants, $7.1 million in state, and then $2.2 in other grants funding sources. Our child nutrition budget is $20 million, and we have $4 million in capital. $3 million of the capital is for deferred maintenance, and $1 million is for bus replacement. What is not on the slide, like I shared with you in February, is the reappropriation that we have of $4.4 million from the fund balance of 2018. The enrollment projections, the key things here is showing us a decline in enrollment from 2009 to our proposed 2021 school year. We're still declining, but at a smaller rate of decline. But the key thing here, I want to share with you 2 key dates. September the 30th, our fall membership is where we do our staffing. And the key date for our funding from the state is March, the average daily membership of March 31st. So we're projecting, actually, we're using the governor's projection right now in March ADM of 27,352 students to build our budget. So with that said, again, we're using the governor's proposed budget that was introduced with a March ADM of 27,352 students. And the total that we will be receiving or anticipating receiving from the state is $200.6 million for next fiscal year. We got an update from the revenue formula from the city where it would be $3 million right now. The other revenues we're holding constant, so we have a total budget for next school year of $348.3 million, which represents a $12.1 million increase over the current school year, or 3.6% increase. This is showing, again, what our revenue looks like in pie chart. Again, the $206 million is 59.3%, which is coming from the state, 38% coming from the city, 1.6% from the federal, and other miscellaneous funds is less than 1% at 0.9%. And that is the estimated revenue. And now Dr. Birdsong is going to take over to explain to you her funding priorities and what the budget supports.
Thank you, Ms. Ingram. As Ms. Ingram mentioned, our proposal marks a 3.6% or $12.1 million increase from the current fiscal year. While that seems like a sizable increase, please keep in mind that our budget will also be addressing some significant cost increases. I believe it's fair to characterize this budget as a relatively lean, disciplined proposal. However, it also allows for crucial investments in 4 priority areas: compensation, safety and security, additional resources for schools, and building repairs and maintenance. All right, let's begin with compensation. In a city like Norfolk, where an estimated 22% of individuals and 16% of families live in poverty, a quality education system is the great equalizer. Why is that so? Because it provides a clear roadmap to a better life. And who moves children along that road to progress? Our employees do. They are truly, truly, truly the backbone of a quality education system. Here in Norfolk, we must improve our compensation for employees if we are to remain competitive in the Hampton Roads employment marketplace. As we continue with the phase 4 of the implementation of our pay and compensation study, that need became very evident to us. That's why I'm recommending that the starting pay for teachers be increased from $44,220 to $45,000. We believe improving the starting salary will enhance our recruitment efforts. This proposal also recommends a step increase for all eligible employees. While the size of such a salary increase will be dependent upon where employees are on their respective salary scales, the average increase will prove to be approximately 3.4%. As previously mentioned, there are some significant cost increases that had to be addressed in this proposal. Anticipating that health insurance costs alone will rise by 12%, we have to make this increase more manageable. To accomplish this, I am recommending that the school division and its employees share the burden of increased premiums. Additionally, I do want to point out that Virginia retirement system rates are rising from 15.68% to 16.62%, and the school division is assuming the full impact of this. Moreover, this proposal recommends increasing the hourly rate of part-time teachers from $25 to $30, and also intends to raise the classified part-time hourly rate in an effort for the school division to remain competitive. We do need to acknowledge the extra work of those teachers who carry caseloads that are above average. Therefore, I'm also recommending stipends for secondary teachers whose caseloads are above 150 students. I am also proposing increasing the stipends for teachers who take on extra academic and co-curricular activities to remain competitive with the neighboring school districts. Continuing on with recommended stipend increases, we also have set aside monies for increasing extracurricular and athletic stipends. We hope this will be instrumental in encouraging busy employees to step forward and take on important extra duties. This proposal also has a pool of funds for several important contract services. For example, we want to continue governance training for the school board and the superintendent. Also, Norfolk Public Schools must develop a strategic plan in collaboration with stakeholders of the school division if we are to be successful in setting the vision and identifying concrete steps to implement it. As you're aware, just as the strategic plan is the blueprint for the intellectual progress of Norfolk Public Schools, there is a need for a vision related to bricks and mortar as well. Therefore, this proposal also contains funds for educational planning services to help us retool our long-range facilities master plan. We also intend to embark upon a feasibility study for Booker T. Washington High School in an effort to support further development of this school's specialty program. Returning to the issue of staffing, we must acknowledge that in any school division, there are some schools that are harder to staff than others. Consequently, a recruitment and retention initiative is embedded in this budget recommendation that will provide stipends for teachers and teacher assistants at 6 of our schools with high needs. Continuing on, I am recommending the development of an internship program for school psychologists to provide more social emotional supports for students. This program will augment the work of the school division's 23 psychologists. Again, returning to the issue of school climate, another proposal includes the realignment of the job responsibilities of a division-level administrator to lead the re-energizing of the Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports Initiative, thereby better supporting the management of student behaviors across the school division. This will also be accompanied by continued professional development in the area of PBIS for our teachers. To support continued implementation of the National Mathematics and Science Initiative at Lake Taylor and Booker T. Washington High Schools, I am recommending the addition of 2 teachers to continue this very important work. And at the preschool level, monies are set aside for an additional teacher and paraprofessional for the Virginia Preschool Initiative Program, a move largely made to accommodate a projected increase in student enrollment. Other important additions include an instructional specialist for the Southside STEM Academy at Campus Stella to support the enhancement of the integration of the STEM curriculum. The addition of 6 teachers of English language learners to address a rising population of students who need ELL services, and a change in SOQ standards. As an FYI, Norfolk Public Schools experienced a 28% increase in our student population of English language learners this school year over the previous school year. Moving right along, this budget also contains funding to help improve literacy and numeracy at our earliest grades. With the addition of 6 mathematics specialists and 4 reading specialists, every elementary school will have 1 full-time specialist in both areas. Then turning to special education, this proposal will add 2 special education teachers and 3 special education assistants to address some programming needs that we have. This expenditure plan has a laser-like focus on implementing improvements to safety and security in our schools. School climate contributes greatly in that regard. That's why I'm proposing that we add 5 behavioral specialists that will be assigned to schools based upon student discipline data. We have also heard from the Norfolk Public Schools Safety and Security Task Force that more supports need to be in place for schools, particularly at the elementary level. As such, this proposal contains funding for 30 new security officers, 2 to provide full coverage at Ghent K-8 school and Crossroads Pre-K-8, and 28 security officers to provide full-time support for all of our traditional elementary schools. A commitment to wellness and social emotional health is also a part of what makes the school climate a warm, safe, and welcoming one. Consequently, we intend to hire 11 additional health and physical education assistants. This will provide 3 days per week of physical education for K-4 students and will also support more recess for our pre-K2 students. Continuing on with additions that will support the social emotional well-being of students, the budget contains funding for 7 school counselors. This addition is also necessary because of a proposed reduction in SOQ staffing ratios. We also plan to adjust the contracts of 10 school counselors to support secondary schools in addressing student social emotional needs during the summer months and to assist with student enrollment and withdrawals. Our expenditure plan also contains 5 new attendance technicians to initiate improvements in overall attendance and a reduction in truancy, and 15 bus attendants to assist with efforts to safely transport our children with disabilities. I do want to spend a little more time on this next recommendation to add 15 assessment coordinators or data analysts for secondary schools to coordinate all assessment functions. Not only will this improve the efficiency of year-round testing, but it will also allow for the disaggregation of data. This ability is vital to schools because it will help teachers and administrators pinpoint challenges and thus help them in planning and executing more timely interventions for our children. It should also facilitate efforts to build upon students' identified strengths. The final item on this slide marks a completion of sorts. When we add 1 new assistant principal position, this will mean that every traditional elementary school will have an assigned assistant principal. We do recognize the need to further develop the incredible talent in our school division, and through that effort, hopefully retain many wonderful employees. Consequently, we intend to embark upon the development of a Grow Our Own program, an effort that will provide resources to staff who want to seek licensure or certification in the areas of mathematics and reading, as well as provide a path for instructional staff to move up to assistant principal and principal positions. As you will see in the next 3 recommendations, we are committed to quality targeted professional development in the areas of literacy, trauma-informed care, and social emotional learning. These efforts will increase the professional development allocation considerably. Another literacy improvement effort involves extending the contracts of 8 core content teacher specialists from 11 months to 12 months to support literacy integration. This extension will allow more time for planning before a new school year begins and support with implementing the school division's literacy plan. Moving on, we've set aside stipends for wellness champions in every school and want to provide an increase in the per pupil allocation from $2.50 to $3.50 in the area of art and music education at the secondary level. As I begin moving toward the conclusion of the presentation, I want to point out that there are several outstanding efforts that will impact our budget next year. However, at the time of budget development, their financial scope was not such that we could make a reasonable projection. These include the special education audit, the Norfolk Public School Safety and Security Task Force report, the Communications and Media Relations audit, and the potential Choice Neighborhoods Initiative grant funding that may be available as part of the St. Paul's Initiative. Once additional information is available, we will regroup to determine our next steps as it relates to budgetary considerations as a result of the work completed. I realize the recommended additions may have seemed like an exhaustive list. However, I trust that throughout my review, you would see how closely these recommendations align with the 4 priorities I outlined, which include, again, compensation, safety and security, additional resources for schools, and building repairs and maintenance. Now, before you say, wait a minute, what about building repairs and maintenance? Let me give you a brief update on that area. I will affirm that the examination of our plans for building repairs and maintenance is contained in another budget proposal, the Capital Improvement Program budget, or the CIP. The school board will be briefed in a later presentation on those plans. However, I do believe it's important to note here that for the 2020-2021 funding year, my CIP recommendation stands at $17 million, $16 million for maintenance and $1 million for school bus replacement, which is a considerable increase from the current funded year, which stood at $4 million. $3 million for maintenance and $1 million for bus replacement. That being said, these plans need to be addressed in more depth with our funding partner, the City of Norfolk, before I provide in-depth detail on how our funding request is proposed to be allocated. In a city as old as Norfolk, the majority of our schools are over the age of 48 years. As the school board is aware, we're working with the consulting group to retool our long-range facilities master plan. This plan will identify both short-term and long-term priorities and will also address funding options. Working together with our city funding partner, we will be striving to provide our students with school buildings that are worthy of them. I realize that the board most likely has questions about the expansive list of recommendations I just shared. However, I ask your continued patience as I turn back to Ms. Ingram to close out our presentation with an in-depth look at healthcare costs, the budget balancing strategies that we employed, and what the expenditures are projected to be by cost category. Mrs. Ingram.
Thank you. As we had mentioned earlier, that we anticipate a 12% increase in health insurance to be shared both by the Norfolk Public Schools and our employees. Current health insurance plan, we have 3 plans, and there are 4 tiers that's outlined here on the PowerPoint presentation. What I want to share with you is to give you an example of what the proposed salary increase would be and the proposed health insurance increase to show that impact on employee salary. So the first one that we are showing in teacher number 1, this teacher, we're taking them from 2018 at a step 2 to 2019 where they moved a step to step 3. This year they moved to step 4, and the proposal for next year is to move a step plus get a 1.8% increase in beginning pay, which also impact them. So their total increase per pay period would be $74.51. If you look down at this particular employee with the deductions that they currently have, and I want to bring your attention to the highlighted pinkish area where the health insurance shows, their health insurance will increase $6.50. So if you, in addition with the other deductions that they have chosen, they would have a net increase in pay of $50.33. So they would get a $74 increase in pay. Health insurance would go up $6.50. The second example is for teacher number 2, who in 2018 was at step 10, moved to step 11 in 2019 to step 12 in 2020, and in step 2021 will be step 13. Their salary increase will be $93.14. Again, if you go down to the health insurance plan that they've chosen, their increase will be $22. So if you look at that with the netting of their other deductions, their net take-home pay would be $53.66. Then these rates will become effective in December of 2020. Next, I'm going to the balancing the budget with the information that Dr. Burson outlined for you previously. This is like a summary of what's included. The total cost for compensation increase is $9.5 million. The employee benefits, which includes the health insurance increase and the VRS rate increase, is 1.2%. A total of 11 teachers, 6 ESL, 2 NIMSY, 1 pre-K, and 2 special education for a cost of $700,000. School counseling, which includes the assessment coordinators and data analysts, 7 counselors, and the 15 data analysts is $1.4 million. Under the specialists for the 6 math, 4 reading, 1 STEM, and the 5 behavior specialists for 16 is $1.1 million. The school administrator, 1 at $100,000. Teacher assistants, the 11 PE, the 1 pre-K, and the 3 special education for a total of 15, for a total of $500,000. The 5 attendance technicians, $200,000. Other professional, which was the occupational therapist and a .5 human resources generalist, is $100,000. Building safety and support, which includes 30 security officers and 1 custodian, is $1.3 million. Bus attendants, the 15, $300,000. The increase in stipends and differentials is $600,000. To extend the contracts of counselors and core content specialists is $100,000. The strategic plan, educational planning, and feasibility study for Booker T. Washington is $400,000. Professional development for math and reading, the social emotional learning, trauma-informed care, and literacy is $400,000. The psychologist intern program is $100,000. And to balance that enrollment decline, we could eliminate 12 positions for $800,000. Vacant bus driver position to offset the 15 bus attendants, 12 positions, which if you saw at the top, I talk about the attendants, so that was funded by reducing the bus drivers. In other adjustments is $300,000. What we do at the beginning of each budget year, we also rebase the salaries and also look at some attrition savings, and that's $4.5 million. So in total, there's a 93.5 new positions that are added to the budget for a total of $18 million. And again, that's the increases, and the decreases that we showed you was $5.9 million for a net of 12.1, which you recall that on the revenue we had 12.1% increase. So you do have a balanced budget presented to you tonight. Again, oh, I didn't change that as I was talking, I'm sorry. Again, this budget is based on Governor Northam introduced budget that we received on December the 17th. We also used the VDOE's enrollment projection, and we also are using the local contribution from the revenue allocation from the city, the $348,290,828, again, which is 12.1% over the current year budget, or 3.6% increase. This slide is sharing with you the major cost categories. You see salaries are about 60.6% of our budget. Fringe benefits is 24.8% for a total compensation of 85.4% of our total budget. And this includes 4,166.85 full-time equivalent position It also includes all part-time salaries, overtime salaries, supplements, and things of that nature. All compensation is in there, and the other costs associated with running the division is 14.6%. Next is showing you by major category. You will see that 74% of the budget, 74.4%, goes directly into instructional support. And it, administration, attendance, and health is 5.9%. Pupil transportation is 4.1%. Operation and maintenance is 11.2%. Facilities 1.5%, and technology 2.8%. So next steps, March the 4th, we will have a school board work session and public hearing. On March the 18th, we anticipate school board approval at the business meeting, and key date on April the 1st, where we submit the proposed budget to City Council. In May, we anticipate the City Council to appropriate funding for our fiscal year 2020-2021. And that's when also the school board would adopt its final budget for the next fiscal year. And that concludes the presentation.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ingram, and to your team, thank you for all of the hard work that you put in bringing the board this very comprehensive budget. We'll now open the floor to questions. Ms. Basine.
Dr. Birdsong and Ms. Ingram, thank you for the budget presentation. I have several questions. First, there's a lot of promise here. I like the focus on social emotional learning, health and wellness, of course, that's proposed in the budget. I do have questions about the rate increases and wonder if there was a reanalysis of the pay and comp study that determined that we were not competitive with our first-year teachers, because I think previously we were competitive. And so, I'd like to know, how, as far as our part-time hourly rate, our first-year teachers, and some of the other areas that we're having there's a proposed rate increase. I'd like to know, what the data is showing us. And I ask that because in the past, when we've had conversations about, the teachers who are leaving the district, I've asked to look at the pay and comp study and to see if are we missing some gaps? Are we missing a target group of teachers that, that we're finding, that there's a greater trend around a certain tenured or a teacher with a certain number of years and experience that is more likely to leave the district, and should we be focusing our efforts on those groups that we're seeing retention issues? So that's one, that question kind of encompasses several areas that have been proposed. And aside from that, you mentioned recommendations from the Safety and Security Task Force that brought you to the proposal, or brought you to the recommendation to propose about 30 new safety or security resource officers, and I'd like to hear more about that as well. And more prominently, I also don't see with all of the focus on health and wellness and social and emotional learning, I don't see the health and wellness coordinator position that was once in the budget as well, and would like to hear more about that, as well as the implementation of start times, as well as the gifted education review. Mm-hmm. So those are just some things off the bat that I noticed that I would love to hear more about either tonight or March 4th.
So in a nutshell, I don't know if you want me to answer every question, but we did do an analysis of starting pay within Hampton Roads, Tidewater area, and we, as it relates to beginning teacher salaries, we're not competitive. Okay. We are lagging behind. I think the only, and Mr. Phillips can correct me if I'm not giving you accurate information, but I believe it's Suffolk is the only school division that has a lower rate than we do. Everyone else is higher. And so we know we have a very, very young teacher corps. And so we tend to attract a lot of brand new teachers. And so we want to remain competitive in that area. And so that was one of the reasons we focused on the new teachers, while also at the same time addressing the pay and comp study and looking at that and making sure that all of our teachers were able to have a raise, a significant raise. As it relates to the wellness piece, if there are other, if I missed something, please let me know. We still are looking to fill that position. That position was not eliminated from the budget. We just have not filled it yet, so it is still there.
Okay, thank you for
You're
that.
welcome.
Did you want to address the other items?
There were so many.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just wanted to give you. I know. I just jumped, but I didn't see. I mean, you mentioned other initiatives that this budget supports, and one of a major change that we've discussed is the change in the start times and some of the costs around that. And so I don't see that reflected here. Not to say that it's not coming in
And we'll have a more comprehensive report out on that on the 4th. We're scheduled to talk about that.
Okay.
Any other, Ms. Smith?
So, Dr. Birdsong, as much as possible, I'd like to see us with this budget to show the connection to our not the accountability, to our equity plan. So, for example, looking at recruitment and retention initiative, and we have it at 6 schools, it would do us and the public good to know what 6 schools those recruitment and retention initiatives will be placed in. It's time for us to move away from what I would call a peanut butter or just across the board spread of billets or positions, and to begin to really take into consideration our equity plan. And as much as possible, I just use this as one example, but as much as possible that we can through here, address this from an equity perspective and show to the public how we're doing it.
For that feedback?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes, okay,
You
thanks.
down there.
Yeah, it's all right. So I guess one, just from a process standpoint, just like to, first of all, I appreciate the efforts around staffing, as well as the commitment around maintenance. Will we receive a more detailed budget proposal, and if so, do you know when that will be?
You mean like your budget booklet?
Yeah, something that gives a little more.
Today.
Oh, okay, I hadn't seen
Yes,
it. Okay.
you'll receive it today.
Okay, well then
Yes.
that'll be helpful. So I probably will save
Yeah,
some
will
other
receive that
questions
today.
once I get a chance to review that. Generally speaking, on the compensation for staff, I know the presentation said all employees, and I think you said all eligible employees. Can you clarify what is being proposed in terms of the step?
And I'm going to let Ms. Ingram tackle this a little more, but we wanted to make sure that every employee at least got 1 step increase, but it depends on their current placement on the salary scale, and it may vary what that percent may look like depending upon where they are. Ms. Ingram, you want to add some details to that?
And just so I'm clear, so that's, I guess I'll ask, that's kind of what we've been doing or been working towards? I'm just not clear on, just for communication purposes, because as I read it, I follow the effort and the average. But to me, I think there's a difference between saying that every employee is going to be moved a step versus every eligible employee that results in an average. I just want to get some clarity on that.
The proposal is for every employee to move a step. the variances into the dollar amount of the percentage of the step is where they are on the scale. The goal is to have 2% scale step between steps up until step 25, and we have a 2.5% increase. At the beginning, we are not quite there yet, so at the lower ending of the scale, they will be getting a one step increase, which will equate to whatever that percentage is between their step. In addition to when you increase the beginning salary, it rolls up to every step will increase as well.
So I guess generally speaking then, when we have opportunity on the 4th, I would just ask if we could have sufficient time to really look at where we are, where we've been, and the data behind the recommendations. Also, in particular, I would add to that the school security officers. I'd really like to get an understanding of what the data is telling us around that and what the relationship will be and how we think that'll be sustained across budget. I have a lot of questions around adding additional security officers at the elementary school level, and I would ask that we really take time to review the research and data and really understand what we're funding there. And another thing I'll just mention for now is when the Booker T study recommendation came forward, I had mentioned then that I thought that and think that and still do think that as part of the capital improvement budget request that we should include in there a request to council to begin setting funds aside or design process, whatever it is, for a new school, no matter what the facility study brings forward. So I will be asking the board to look at a request to ask the city to begin setting funds aside on their side of the street for a new Booker T building. But the other things I have, I'll wait until I get a chance to read the detailed proposal.
Ms. Campson.
First of all, I'd like to say it was a joy to look at a proposed budget for Norfolk Public Schools that was schoolhouse focused. It made me feel very happy. I have just a couple of things. When we talk about what I really liked is of course, everybody knows how much I wanted to get the reading math specialist positions restored to the schools. And so all of our elementary schools will now have those. Thank you very much. What I'd like to see next is, as Ms. Smith said, the issue of equity has to be addressed, and we know where we get the money from that, and it's called Title I, which I would like to be sure that the Title I budget, when that's worked on, and I know that's a few months later, is very heavy in placing doubling the reading and math specialist in our non-accredited Title I schools and our high poverty schools. I'd like to see more of the title money directed to replacing the instructional specialist positions in those schools, so that's where we build our equity in. We have an even playing field, and now the federal government gives us the money for the equity, and it needs to come back into the schoolhouse. Too much of it is in central office. Too much of it is doing other things, trying to support other things around the district that are not as important as being sure that our high poverty children are getting that extra equity positions to, if a Larchmont school has one, which is a good, and they should have a full-time one, then a Campostella may need 2 or 3. And that's where I'd like to see. So I'm very anxious to see when we get through this, when we start on the title money, I'd like to see that. And when it comes to all the professional development and all, I think we need to make sure more of the Title II money goes into the schools for professional development. And that's who needs to get a lot more training, the kids, the people that are touching children every day. So thank you again. One other thing on the pay. I'd like, and I already sent, I know I sent you an email already, but just to say it, I'd like to see what the base salary is of teachers getting compared to with the steps and all, what they end up with. What's the difference between the base pay they have in 2020 and the base pay they'll have next year in 2021? So I can look and see how real it is. Sometimes I think when we're trying to complete the compensation step improvements, that some people are kind of getting left behind. And we had a number of teachers that came to me last year that were not getting a raise, or it was so much less than other steps around them. So I'd like to see it, looking at it from the lens of base pay.
Okay.
Thank you. And once again, thank you for the schoolhouse-centered budget.
Thank you. Ms.
Just
Smith?
one more comment. Dr. Birdsong, while Title I money is definitely earmarked for at-risk schools, we have the ability to go beyond that. And my expectation is that we would go beyond that and not limit our schools just to, I don't want to say just to, but I'm going to just say go beyond that. My expectation is that we would go beyond that.
Thank you. Dr. Birdsong, Ms. Ingram, thank you very much for the budget presentation. Just to reiterate to all, we will have a work session at Granby High School on March the 4th. The work session will begin at 4 o'clock. A major portion of that discussion will be on the budget, and then we will have a public hearing at 7 o'clock on the budget as well to, again, take your feedback on the proposed budget. Moving on to citizen comments on non-agenda items only. Again, I will restate the fact that please come to the podium. It can be adjusted to suit your height. Please state your name. If you have a child in Norfolk Public Schools, please give any comments that you have brought with you to the clerk if you would like for the board to have them, and we will keep our limit to 3 minutes per speaker. Ms. Tanner, please proceed.
I was just double checking the number of speakers we have. So far, we have 27 speakers.
Okay.
The first one is Ann Christie of Maury High School, followed by Tammy Sykes.
Okay.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak to you. I'm Ann Christie. I'm a resident of Norfolk, and I'm also the program leader for the Medical and Health Specialties program at Maury High School. As you know, this program was the very first magnet or specialty program within the city of Norfolk. It's been an ongoing partnership between the Eastern Virginia Medical School for more than 33 years. The program's very existence is a testament to that early focus that EVMS had for a community commitment, and it was also the vision of the former Dean Robert McCombs and NPS Science Program Coordinator Gene Doogie. Dollar-wise, this program costs NPS very little. Over the years, it has significantly impacted the education and career paths of all the students who have participated in it. There are many, many former students working locally in the medical field, and Dr. Gabriel is one example. She's a product of this program. I can't speak to the years before 2009, but over the last 11 years that I've been part of this program, 95% of the program graduates have gone on to college. Approximately 85% of them continue to study hard sciences or medically focused programs in college, and many of those attend graduate schools not only at EVMS but in other prestigious institutions across the country. The program students take rigorous and unique courses, but they also have some remarkable enrichment opportunities. Some of these have included following first-year medical students through classes, monthly speakers from varied medical and health professions, attending the monthly bioethics committee meetings at Centera Norfolk General, visiting LifeNet facility at Virginia Beach, viewing live surgery through interactive national webcasts. They can earn the national level, entry-level AMR certification. We are one of only 2 high schools in the state that currently offer that. But perhaps no experience is more unique than what the students experience at EVMS. For an entire year during their junior year, students study anatomy in the donor anatomy labs every day. Forensic science seniors and sophomores take classes in the MDL labs at the medical school. And while they're there, those students are able to utilize the state-of-the-art library facilities. To best of my knowledge, there is no other program in the U.S., think no other program nationally, that affords students this type of regular daily exposure to a medical and anatomy lab, medical school and anatomy lab. This is truly an example of a successful pipeline program. So I'm talking to you in hopes tonight that we'll be able to continue this partnership. Currently, anatomy and forensic science students leave Maury at 7:25 each morning to attend classes at EVMS. Starting later at EVMS is not an option. Our kids are there from 7:30 to 8:40. Roughly 115 of the 175 current program students are out of district and bus to school each day. Can I please have like 10 more seconds?
10 seconds, and that
You are
is it.
each committed to doing what's in the best interest of all students. I hope you will continue to support this program through a commitment to alternative planning for the late start slated for this coming fall. There are many factors that need to be considered. I'm
Thank
more
you.
than willing to help. Thank you very much for your support and for your commitment to this. Thank you.
Good evening, board members. My name is Tammy Seitz. I'm a staff at Bayview Elementary. I'm a teacher assistant. I'm currently out on FMLA. I have concerns, questions, and I would like for them to be addressed. I would like to know, Dr. Burson, what is it when a staff communicates with you or try to contact you, you don't return emails or phone calls? What is it, who determines whether or not a staff or administrator leave a child in an abuse case? What or who determines whether or not it's okay not to report a child abuse case? Why don't NPS support their own kids' safety against child abuse? Why don't NPS support staff when they are mandated reporters? What allows staff to continue to teach after being charged with a misdemeanor or a felony abuse? What allows NPS to give a staff a 3-year provision working for 19 years without a teacher license? What gives NPS the privilege to allow staff to put hands on a child and they're not certified? Who gives NPS the right to allow that to happen? I've been out of work since November the 12th. I was made to come to do a statement November the 6th. Everybody else get administrative pay. Everybody knew about the incident since last year. They waited until I went out on FMLA, chose not to give me administrative pay. So now I have to live off of a 60% check. Who gives NPS that right not to pay me full pay? And I was the one who gave the teacher up for assaulting a special need individual. Who gives NPS that right not to allow me to be forceful? That's my job, is to support our kids that cannot speak for themselves.
Kate Sherrill, followed by Chanel Parker.
Good evening, Superintendent Birdsong, members of the board, parents, family, and Norfolk Public Schools staff. My name is Kate Sherrill, and I'm a parent of a first grader at W.H. Taylor Elementary. Your recent decision to move forward with the school start time change, despite recommendations to postpone, is worrisome to me, along with many other parents and students in the community. 3 petitions were started after your January decision. 2 asking to keep start times the same. And 1 petition, the one my husband and I started, asking to postpone. There are now over 3,500 combined petition signatures, and the overall consensus is keep the times as they are. In fact, the survey Norfolk Public Schools sent out received only 1,500 responses with mixed opinions on the change. I read through the responses, and many were okay with the later start time for high school, but did not agree with a 7:30 start time for elementary school students. Although there is science to back the benefits of starting high school students later, I feel the board is failing to recognize the lack of science regarding the unknown impacts of early elementary school start times. We simply do not know how a 7:30 start time will affect our youngest students, and with the lack of science, does that make it okay to move forward? I think not. Members of the board, you have made this decision hastily, and in my opinion, for the wrong reasons. I encourage those of you who voted to move forward to take a step back and understand this decision as a whole is not solely about accountability. If you cannot make a change that benefits the majority, then it is a change that should not be made. Your decision today will impact thousands of elementary school students for years to come. I am holding you accountable as a board and will continue to advocate for the majority until a responsible decision is made. Thank you for your time.
Chanel Parker, please. Laura Herring, followed by Jennifer Parker. Jennifer Parker.
There you go.
Good evening. Sorry about my voice. My name is Jennifer Parker, and I'm a proud 23-year employee of Norfolk Public Schools, a varsity and middle school basketball coach, and a parent of 2 middle school students who are currently at a Norfolk Public School. The time change concerns me for several reasons. First, as an employee, I've had ample opportunities to leave Norfolk Public Schools to teach in other cities. But I choose to stay because I love the kids and I love my job. I choose to turn down a significant raise in pay because I want to be a part of Norfolk Public Schools. I've watched some of the best teachers in our school choose otherwise and leave for more money and quite often better conditions. Instead of using the money that we put in to make this time change happen, why don't we take the money and put it back into our schools to fix building issues, increase security, and teacher raises? Secondly, as a coach, I put countless hours into both of my programs trying to develop my girls not only athletically, but academically, and teaching them positive values that will carry on into their everyday lives. With this time change, study hall will have to be cut so that students will not be up at the school late at night. Our building cannot accommodate more than 1 basketball team practicing at a time. So our JV teams go to other locations, and as varsity teams, we must go at separate times, one earlier and one later. The time change would make the team that goes late in no earlier than 8 p.m., leaving the student athletes getting home late, especially if they ride the late bus. This move would not allow me and many other varsity coaches to coach middle school anymore. Lastly, as a parent, both of my children play middle school sports and will hopefully continue to play on the varsity level. I would not want my daughter, or quite frankly my son, leaving school at 8 p.m., driving home as a young driver at that time. Right now they are involved in middle school sports. We get home from practices around 6 and games at 8 p.m. That they do at least an hour or more of homework, which I imagine will increase as they get to high school. Our family tries to eat dinner together and have family time in the evenings, which I feel as a mother of teenagers is so important because it's our time to talk about their day and many other stressors that they may have. This time change would make it very tough for that to take place anymore. I'm asking for your consideration with this issue as a faithful NPS employee, a coach, and a concerned parent. Lastly, as I listen to you talk about the budget, I would add that first-year teachers are very important, but I sit and watch tenured teachers leave over and over again. It's not the new year, it's the ones that stay, and we put in our time. and we put in our hard work to these children, and we deserve something back as well. I've been in Norfolk Public Schools 23 years. I don't want to leave. I love Norfolk Public Schools, and I think we deserve just as much as a first-year teacher. Thank you for your time.
Jocelyn Costa, followed by Scott Sherrow. Okay, Jocelyn's not here, so Scott Sherrow.
Good evening, Superintendent Birdsong and school board members. My name is Scott Sherrow, and my wife Kate and I have a first grader at Taylor Elementary. Your decision in January to forge ahead with school start time changes against the recommendation of the administration concerned many in the community, resulting in 3 petitions my wife mentioned earlier. So where do we stand now? For funding, the board directed the administration to reach out to the city in October, and 3 months later, in January, they reported no movement on getting funds from the city. The plan calls for money this month to start funding various implementation plans. And I remind you that it was your intention for this to be made a plus up from the city with no trade-offs within the school's current or future budgets. Now we are in February. My understanding is there is still no movement with funding from the city. I am awaiting an update at the March meeting, but expect project costs will increase because they're late to need at this point. Regarding communication, there still is no plan of record. It's nowhere to be found. Cooperative Strategies tells us we are overdue on publishing a detailed plan, which prevents the public from providing feedback on the specifics. Their biggest concern is what they call afternoon wraparound services for elementary school students. I view this as an additional cost to families of Norfolk Public Schools. So the funding is off plan, and I would argue we need a new plan for the funding. With a total CIP budget of $3 million for this year, are you willing to eliminate other projects, perhaps a third or half of the projects for this year, to implement the school funding of approximately $1 million for this year? Is this plan for school time changes in accordance with your school board priorities? I would argue it detracts from them by targeting the least needy group in high school students, which only 14% of the high school students in Norfolk Public Schools go to a partially accredited school, whereas 47% of the non-accredited students in Norfolk Public Schools are elementary school students. The communication plan is off plan, and I would argue the plan was inadequate from the beginning. Those in favor of this change promote it based solely on the benefits it would bring, while avoiding any substantive discussion of the costs. It assumes free money that doesn't currently exist and doesn't recognize that it provides an advantage to one group at the expense of another. I'll note here that Seattle Public Schools saw a 4.5% increase in scores for their high school students, but what isn't said is their elementary schools don't start until 7:55 at the earliest. Theirs wasn't a zero-sum trade-off. Our plan right now is. So what are we asking? First, share the plan now so that we can review it before the March meeting. My time is up, so I appreciate you.
It is up.
Thank you.
But you can hand your comments to the clerk.
Thank you.
And we can record them. Thank you.
Aiden Swindell, followed by Mike Payne.
Hi, my name is Taden Swindell, and I'm a junior at Maury High School. I'm here to speak on behalf of all the students that will be negatively affected next year by the time change. My understanding, this change is being made to increase academic success, but in my opinion, and in many other people's opinion, this will cause more harm than good. To begin with, this change could cause hardship for students who volunteer after school in the programs that they're affiliated with. One example being the Sail Nauticus program, which rely on several high school students to assist them teaching middle schoolers to learn how to sail. But with this change, their volunteers will get out too late to be much help for them. Also, I would like to argue that early high school start times prepare us for what real life will be after we graduate, and is training people who will have to be at work earlier. Next, the elementary schoolers who take the bus may be outside by themselves during dark hours for any variety of reasons, such as their parents' work schedule interfering with them being at the stop with their kids. And this can pose a serious threat to the safety of those children. Also, the buses are not the most reliable when it comes to being on time, and I know this by personal experience. And even as someone who doesn't have kids, this sounds very scary to me. Furthermore, many high schoolers who pick up their young siblings at bus stops after school will not be able to, and parents who don't get off work before 2 p.m. will have to find a way to get them, or will be forced to let them walk home alone or spend money that many do not have on daycare. I think that at the very least, the change should wait until the 2021 school year in order for many of these problems to be fixed, and give more time to the schools to do things like install lights for all of our fields. This decision feels heavily rushed, and I feel like we're looking at an imminent disaster. I would greatly appreciate if you took into consideration what I and many others have been saying, and rethink the change, or take more time to prevent these issues. Please listen to the people that this directly affects. Everyone here has gone through high school with early start times and turned out okay. I beg you to listen to what we have to say and do this the right way. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. How are you doing?
Good evening.
All right. I'm Mike Payne, General of the original Black Panthers of VA. And yeah, I think I got put on the wrong list today. But it's a joke. But no, what I want to talk about is Black history and the lack of Black history our children are being taught in the school system. The reason why I want to talk about this is because it's adversely affecting our children, not just Black children, but all children. With Black history, we are able to learn pride in ourselves, learn that we come from a great stock of people such as archaeologists, mathematicians, things of that nature, et cetera, inventors, artists, all that good stuff. Without that, some of our children tend to get low self-esteem and have different issues. When you want to look at another child and you want to see yourself, you want to also be able to identify and show love to that other child. Now, without loving yourself and not knowing who you are, that becomes an issue. So I think Black history is a really important thing to incorporate, and I think other kids will also understand the hurdles and the different things that we face throughout life. Self-preservation is killing us in the long run, not just physically, but economically. And I believe that, yes, we can be educated, but after that, we forget about the village. And we grow up and we just go on and be successful and we forget about everybody else. And as a people, we need to stick more together. So I want to ask you to help us and be part of that village. We go out and we teach kids in the street. We're going to all these different candlelight vigils. We're seeing kids slaughtering each other on a regular basis. And a lot of it comes from them not knowing themselves, not having self-love, and these different types of things. And I think Black history would also help them be able to do that. We have different programs we do. We talk to the kids. We do commemorations for Emmett Till, just tell the stories of Bessie Coleman. We do all this type of stuff, but we're not reaching enough, and we need to reach more, because every day I got to go to one of those vigils, or every week, or whatever it is. It's quite heartbreaking, and then I gotta sit and talk to the mothers and the fathers and the uncles. So there is work to be done, of course, after the school day, and if the parents aren't the role model of the child, then we need to step up and really be that for them, because they're gonna need that help, and I see now they do actually need that help. So I wanna ask you to be part of the village, help out. Please reach out to me in any way. I'm definitely here, and we're here to lend our assistance in any way and offer any type of ideas for programs. We have them. I've got 4 seconds left, so I want to just say thank you, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Janelle Janelle Thompson, followed by Thomas Calhoun.
Hello, everyone. My name is Janelle Thompson. I was hired by Norfolk Public Schools in November of 2017 to work at Campostella STEM Academy. During my time at Campostella, my supervisor made numerous unwelcome sexual advances despite me telling him to stop. I was harassed sexually in my workplace from December of 2017 to June of 2018, while my supervisor proceeded to threaten my job if I did not comply. After confiding in a coworker, I was approached by Assistant Principal Shannon Gould. As an administrator, Ms. Gould reported to Human Resources Journalist John A. Brown. During this time, I reached out to my area manager, Teresa Bray, and also Anthony Brown, the Senior Coordinator of Facilities, so that both were aware of my concerns. During the course of my harassment, my supervisor would say things to deter me from filing my complaint, like Mr. Anthony Brown, Ms. Teresa Bray, and Ms. John A. Brown in Human Resources are his friends, and they wouldn't do anything. After filing my complaint with Ms. Brown, she conducted what I feel to be was a brief and unthorough investigation where her findings were inconclusive. After said investigation, Ms. Brown stated that I would return back to Campostella to work with the very person who incessantly harassed me. During this time, I emailed Mr. Dandridge Billups, the Executive Director of Human Resources, who never returned any of my emails. Immediately upon my return to work, I was targeted and retaliated against by my supervisor. From August of 2018 to June of 2019, I started receiving numerous write-ups and reprimands, which I had never received until after I filed my complaint. During this time of harassment and retaliation, I was diagnosed with an anxiety disorder and put on medication due to these extreme conditions. I was further advised by my doctor to leave my job due to its detrimental effects on my health. After 1 year and 6 months, that's 547 days of being retaliated against, harassed, and threatened, I couldn't take it anymore, and I resigned. I followed chain of command and protocols. I begged, I pleaded, and I was still failed by the Norfolk Public Schools. I was finally able to get assistance from Mr. Tom Calhoun from the NFT, and I was able to set up a meeting with Mr. Billups regarding my concerns about my previous employment and coming back to work for Norfolk Public Schools. However, Mr. Billups was only interested in maintaining that Norfolk Public Schools was free of any wrongdoing, and he would not be looking into my case or investigating. So I came here to tell you how a school system that I dedicated myself to failed me. I'm here to make sure that this never happens to anyone else. This should have never happened to me, and it should not continue to be covered up. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for having me.
Madam Chair, board members, my name is Thomas Calhoun. I'm president of the Norfolk Federation of Teachers. I met Lonzo Williamson sitting over there October 2019. He was working at the same school, STEM Academy. He was calling me because he was home on a sexual harassment charge by a teacher at the school. He would remain there for over 3 months until last week. He was approached by a teacher, and she said, well, let's go talk. He went with the teacher to have a conversation. The teacher stopped and got another person for a witness. They went in the room and had a conversation. The conversation was about an affair that she was allegedly having with another member of the school. So after the conversation, they shook hands. He went on back to work. Next day, he found out he was charged with sexual harassment for the way he shook her hand. He was given these 3 months on. They investigated. I talked over and over with Mr. Billups and other people. He was brought back in last week. He was given a reprimand for inappropriately shaking her hand. At the end of that meeting, she sat up with a witness and allegedly calling her baby when he shook her hand this inappropriate way. Then he was sent back to the school, just like Ms. Thompson, same school. last week. The very next day, the same teacher went to the cafeteria, went over there where he was working, then went running back to the principal, said, I can't work in here. I'm gonna get a restraining order. Principal called back to Human Resources. You know, it worked once, why not try it again? And told him same thing, I can't work in here, I can't, this man just, since that time, she's gone back to the cafeteria several times while he's working. No children, no class. She just in there. I'm not gonna sit around while they do another handshake reprimand for sexual harassment or whatever else. I want you to know, Madam Chair, since November, I've tried to work this out with Human Resources internally. I've texted superintendent recently, told her that this whole thing, this involves is sexual harassment, alleged adultery, alleged cover-up, alleged set-up, retaliation, bullying. It's a mess. It's a sordid story, and it can't possibly be told in 6 minutes, but I'm going to tell it because I've tried for over 2 months to work with them in this department to settle this, as I told you, Superintendent Birdsong. And I told you I owed her a chance now to tell her story. That's what I was going to do. We can't do it internally, Superintendent. I'm going to do it now externally. I'm going to tell this whole story.
Cora Johnson, followed by Sherman Butts. Cora Johnson.
Good evening. My name is Cora Johnson. This is my son, Wilford Bellamy. I work at Norfolk Public Schools. I drive the bus number 282. My son attends Tanner Creek Elementary. This is his second year going to school. We moved here last year, December 23rd, from Houston, Texas. My daughter is in the U.S. Navy. She's on her second term now. I moved here for the fact that she had my first grandson. I wanted to be a part of his life. So I retired from Texas Department of Criminal Justice with 20 years of service. I came here, stayed with them. I just went back to work this past September because Ms. Myrna Banks and Mr. Richardson gave me an opportunity after I received my CDL license to drive the bus. So I wanted to give back, so that was a way of giving back, driving the bus and acquiring my CDL license. And they made the statement that people that get their CDL license leave. I said, well, I'm not going to leave. I said, I'm going to stick it out no matter what. And it's been some trying times since September with the kids, with everything, but I'm still there as of today. As you can see, I've been on my But my thing is, I asked Mr. Richardson if my son can ride the bus with me in the morning because my daughter's job has changed with the Navy to where that she can't help me like she used to. And he told me I needed to go talk with Mr. Kleinbell and Mr. Armstrong. Mr. Armstrong explained to me that my son can't ride the bus due to what other people has done for over all this time. Then I called I called up here and I talked to Ms. Tanner. Ms. Tanner explained to me to ask Mr. Kleinbell and Mr. Armstrong, is it a practice or a policy? Mr. Kleinbell explained to me that it's a practice that they're doing. It is not a policy. So he explained to me that they would revisit it. I say, so y'all gonna revisit it to make it a policy so I can't have my child on the bus? I said, this is a safety concern for me and my son. I wanna be able to come to work with a clear mind knowing that my child is okay. I called to Chesapeake, I called to Virginia Beach. They start off with the same pay. The child can ride the bus at age 1. And if my child goes to Tanner Creek and I don't drive for that area, I can give my child to another bus driver and they can drop my child off. That's what Chesapeake and Virginia Beach do at the same pay of what I'm getting now. I like my job at Norfolk Public Schools, but Mr. Kleinbell and Mr. Armstrong, they told me as of yesterday, Mr. Kleinbell said at 5:25 p.m., we are standing on what we're doing, and it's a practice. It is not a policy. And I would love to stay with Norfolk Public Schools, because I know all my kids at Murray, all my kids at Granby, all my kids at Blair, even my after-school kids. So, but if they don't want to work with me to have a peaceful mind knowing that my child is okay, and like several other people said, it's early in the morning. You know, I have to be at my first stop at 6:40. Why can't my child accompany me on that ride?
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Good evening. As indicated, my name is Sherman Butts. I had the opportunity when with the district to serve in a variety of capacities with the superintendent's office and as the deputy clerk for this school board. And so I do know you all rather intimately and work with you all very closely. However, I did come tonight with the thought of saying something very specific in mind. I do want to wait until the full board is present. Mr. Carlos Clanton did leave, so I'll hold my comments in abeyance until another time. But I do have some very specific comments as to the people sometimes come to the podium with conjecture, with what they think to be the case, what they may have observed, by way of opinions. However, I do have facts that I do want some clarification on. So for the time being, I'll return your time to you, but I will come back at a later time. Thank you.
Danielle Broadhurst, followed by Donta Murphy.
Good evening, school board members. My name is Danielle Broadhurst, and I am the property manager for Talbot Park Apartments in Norfolk, Virginia. We reside right next to Granby High School, as some of you may know. I have been employed with the company and managing the property for the last 5 years. I have been back and forth with the school, your head of security, principals, Norfolk PD, for trespassing, first and foremost. Your students start coming onto our property at 7:30 in the morning, and they continue throughout the day until approximately 3 p.m. All of our doors are clearly posted, no trespassing, no soliciting. They've broken into our laundry facility by kicking in a key code lock door, busting out the frame, which is extremely costly to replace, as you may know. They use illegal drugs. They're smoking weed, cigarettes, drinking in our hallways. And if the students are leaving your school to come onto our property and use drugs, there's drugs in your school because we're right next door. They're not getting them in a 10-yard walk from your side door to our property. So first and foremost, that's in your school. Vandalism. They're disabling our smoke detectors. They're putting out their cigarette butts on our brand new, freshly installed carpets. They have kicked glass window panes out of our doors. They have trashed the hallways beyond repair. We now have to increase our cleaning budget, which I have here for you. All of this, every cost we have had to incur, you are looking at over $40,000 in the last year that we have had to expense and pay for the damages that your students have caused. Not to mention including the tenancy we've lost. Prospective tenants, when we go to show a unit and I open a door and the smell of marijuana knocks them down, and we have to go through 7 to 10 high school students to show an apartment. When I went to your school principal the last time, which was just a few months ago, and this is going to be embarrassing, but it needs to be said, Granby High School, where it butts up to us, it's the side door. You have cameras at that entrance and exit. That is where your students are leaving from. In groups of 10, 15, 20 kids. You can't tell me you don't see them, okay? I go up to that door one afternoon after chasing about 15 kids off the property. I walk up to the school. Young boys passing by that door. I smile and I wave. The gentleman let me in the side door of your school. For all anybody knew, I could have been an armed shooter. I walked all the way up and through Granby High School, stopping in the hallway to ask a teacher for directions to the front office. No name tag, no badge, and they gave it to me. This doesn't even begin to cover the extensive damages and issues that I am having, I would urge someone to please contact me to go into further detail so
Thank
that
you very
we don't have to
much.
take further action. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dante Murphy. I'm a father and very proud father of a middle school student at Blair, elementary school student at Granby Elementary. I live on Talbot Park Apartments property, right next door to Granby High School. I'm a chef, so at the times that my children go to school, I'm at work. I'm actually supposed to be in bed now because my alarm goes off at 2:15 in the morning. So, what's very disturbing is to receive a phone call when you're at work from your wife, who was trying to walk our 5-year-old, she's in the 1st grade at Granby Elementary, to school, and she has to go through a crowd of teenagers that are smoking marijuana in the hallway of our apartment building. 2 males, 3 females. My wife says, "What are you all doing here? You guys need to get out of here. You're not supposed to be here." One male, my wife told me, stood about 6 feet. She knows because I'm 6 feet. In all the 20 years that me and my wife have been together, and we're proud products of Maury High School, I've never even approached my wife in an aggressive manner. This teenager that goes to Granby High School thought that it was okay for him to do the same thing that I do not do, and I never have done. Excuse my language, but his exact words were, "Bitch, who are you? Who the fuck do you think you talking to?" These are students that are coming from Granby High School. If I was home during that time, I know for a fact I wouldn't be here at the school board meeting. I'll be right next door. The address used to be 811 East City Hall Avenue, but I'll gladly take that charge. Because you're not going to make threats and come towards my family in a very aggressive manner. My son walks to the bus stop by himself in the morning, has to go through, on several occasions, these crowds of students that come from Granby High School, possibly getting marijuana odor on his clothes. He's an honor student. He's an athlete at Blair. We shouldn't have to live like this because Granby can't control their students. Emails, phone calls, conversations, nothing at all has been done. But something is going to have to be done before it's too late. And I have no problem doing what I have to do to protect my family. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Swindell, Cheryl, you all were signed up already, so, okay. Brittany Chapman Diaz, followed by Centera Cook.
Hello, board members. I'm Brittany Diaz. I'm a mother of 2. One of my children is at Sherwood Elementary. She's pre-K. My other is a 2-year-old, and he stays at home full-time with me. I am a active duty Navy spouse as well as a Guard member. I am the president of the PTA at Sherwood Forest that we recently stood up, and I have my VP, Centera, with me. So I'm here to discuss the capital improvements, and we want to ensure that Sherwood Forest gets the capital improvements that it deserves, especially with the infestation that we dealt with in the beginning of the school year. I pulled up some information that the school was built in 1957, an annex was added in 1988, and the only capital improvements that I have found that had been done was an auditorium ceiling and floor upgrade, electrical upgrade, and improved technology in '97. I couldn't find when they put in the portables. The report to the school board on September 17th, 2008, which also included two other members that are currently here, which is Mr. Hazlett and Mr. Clanton, were on that committee, and they went through and proposed rebuilding Sherwood Forest as a phase 1. When was the last time the attendance zones was upgraded so that we could help with the bus route issue and help with the other issues like changing our start times? Long-range facilities citizens advisory committee members who pledged to assist the board in any way possible to generate community support for full implementation. And this was for the implementation in 2008, 2009. It's now coming to the 2020, 2021, and it still hasn't been done. The increase I've seen is 3.3 million for facility, and for maintenance is a decrease in 3.3 from 2019 to this new proposal. Someone else had said, and I think it was some of you, that we wanted to produce schools that were worthy of our students. This school is not worthy of our students. NPS students, there are 34,500 students, 62 facilities, and that was an 08-09 census, so excuse my outdatedness. But we had $5.6 million for renovations and budget in our budget. Virginia Beach has $64 million. Chesapeake, whom has the closest student ratio facility, had $77.5 million. We need to do more for our kids. Sherwood Forest is 38.23 score and is a priority rating N1. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ciara Cook. I am a proud mother of 3 fourth grade, first grade, and kindergarten, all at Sherwood Forest Elementary School. I am also a proud graduate of Norfolk Public Schools Elementary Middle School. Dr. Birdsong was actually my principal at Azalea, and also high school as well. Just to kind of piggyback on what Ms. Diaz was saying, and by the way, I'm also PTA second vice president of the PTA at Sherwood Forest. Just to piggyback on what she was just saying, the conditions of Sherwood Forest, they have improved a little bit, but they can improve more, a whole lot more, to justify and help our children, and also to help our staff as well, who are there from day in, night and day, sometimes 6-7 days a week, if you really want to say that. Some of the issues that we have noticed at one of our events that we had in January was a leaking roof. It continues to ruin the tiles. It also serves as an entry point for rodents, which we have been trying to do away with or to keep at a minimum. Outdated, dangerous playgrounds. We see broken glass out there, trash out there as well. So that's a major concern. My kids haven't really had a chance to really play on that playground. Let's see what else we have. We have unsafe, outdated windows and doors. The toilet seats in the girls' bathroom, it's broken. I actually have pictures from one of our parents who showed it to us during our event. We had a movie night there, and they took a picture of it, and they, addressed it to us. There's rust or mold on the sinks in the girls' bathroom. Haven't checked the boys' bathroom, but I'm pretty sure that if it's in the girls' bathroom, it's in the boys' bathroom as well. Again, this school was built in 1957, and we still are waiting on a school, or at least a better environment for our students until we are able to get a brand new school for us. My youngest brother actually went to Sherwood Forest back in 2004 to 2005, around that area. And he's now 25 years old, and he was in that same building that my children are attending. So that poses a problem to me. We also did some research, and we were rated back in 2017, rated 1 out of 21 for poor conditions. Thank you for your time.
The Norfolk Youth NAACP, followed by Allison Sampson.
Good evening, Dr. Gabriel and other school board members and Superintendent Dr. Birdsong. My name is Destiny Harrell, and I'm the youth president of the NAACP. This evening, I'm with a few of the youth members. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Eric Wiggins.
I'm Jordan Parker. And some had to go home because of the time. We're also with our advisor, Ms. Stacey Armstead, and our youth leader, Ms. Marie Hall. On behalf of the Youth NAACP, we would like to acknowledge the school board and its members this evening for the contributions you make towards students and our community every day. We would also like to separately acknowledge the school board clerk, Ms. Tanner, for School Board Clerk Appreciation Week. We want to thank you for allowing us to be the only youth organization to be able to provide mentoring within the elementary and middle schools. And would you like to read the name?
From where was
Right there.
We are committed to being 100% engaged in making major contributions in our community. With that being stated, we're asking permission to come forth and present you with small tokens of appreciation. We have flowers, cards, and certificates of appreciation, literally.
Very sweet. Very sweet.
Would you allow us to?
Absolutely.
I'd like us to just give them to the, thank you,
Sure.
Mrs.
Sure.
Let them walk along.
Yeah.
Let them walk
Yeah.
along.
Yeah.
That was for you.
Mhm.
Sorry, that was- Yeah, I know.
Thank you, sweetie. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This goes to Ms. Smith. All right.
How are you doing, Ms. Parker? Thank you. Thank you so much. How are you? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Very sweet.
Thanks for what you've done in school. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, wow.
That's very generous. Yes. I know. Just say thank you.
Allison Sampson, followed by the Norfolk Secondary Principals Association, Stacey Armstead. Is Allison Sampson here first? Okay.
Good evening, Dr. Gabriel, school board members, and Superintendent, Dr. Birdsong. On behalf of the Norfolk Secondary Principals Association, we would like to present you with certificates of appreciation for your contributions and recognition for the valuable work that you do for Norfolk Public Schools. I'll just pass your certificates to Ms. Tanner, and she can pass them to you later on.
Thank you very much.
Matt Simmons, or Simons?
My name is Matthew Simons. I've never done this before. I live in the Highland Park community, and I have a 7-year-old who is in 2nd grade at Larchmont Elementary. We found out that we're having our 2nd child in April, and very excited about that. Both my wife and I, we both have full-time jobs, and we neither one of us have the means, neither one of us have the means to be able to stay at home. So we're looking forward at our options. And we chose to move to Norfolk a couple years ago specifically because of full-day kindergarten. We were living in Virginia Beach, and we were only had half-day kindergarten, and since we both worked full-time, that was going to affect us tremendously in our budget. So we moved here, and we've basically structured our lives around Norfolk Public Schools calendar, and we're looking ahead, and we even structured our family life and our family decisions in order to have a child who was entering high school around the same time as we're looking at our youngest would be going into elementary school in 5 years, and we're basically looking at how this is going to affect our budget, and we're not going to be able to have a high schooler who's able to be at home to get a elementary school student off the bus because of this swap between the elementary school and the high school. So my wife and I are extremely upset about this. She sent me here tonight to explain the situation. I'm doing my best to do that. And I'm not someone to make waves. I work in public service myself. Don't like making waves, don't like upsetting anybody or anything, but we're just extremely nervous about how this is going to affect our lives. We're spending a lot of money right now each month on after-school care, and we're hoping that if we make these adjustments smart, that we won't have to do that, but it looks like that's all going to change now. So that's our position. We're very much against the time change, and that's just the situation that we're in. So thank you. I appreciate the time to come out here.
Dr. Gabriel, this concludes our speakers for this evening.
I'm sorry.
We must have missed you on the previous one. Come on down, Ed. Ed Boyd.
Okay.
How did we miss you, Ed?
You know I never do. My name's Ed Boyd. I'm the athletic director at Maury High School. Before I start, first off, thank you, school board, for letting me talk. Doc, congratulations. Good things happen when you hang on the sidelines with Maury, huh? He was our honorary captain on the semifinal game against Verina. I'm here to talk about the change in time and how it's going to affect athletics. When we got the news, we had a meeting, which was with Jennifer, like 6:15 in the morning, which, if you know me, I'm usually running games, so I usually come in a little bit later. So everybody knew it. All the coaches were in there. And it just kind of took everything out of us. So sat down, talked to the coaches, and I said, hey, 3 things I need. I need you to tell me, go back to your athletes, and I need to know, what will the team's schedule look like with the later start time if we kept it the same? Okay, what are we going to have to cut out? And last, what are the negative impacts? Well, I've written them all out for you all, gave them to you because I knew I only had a 3-minute shot clock, so I had to get going here. Also, excuse the, I think my passion was a little bit more than my eyesight, so we did have a little typo there in the beginning. Anyway, if you take a look at the middle, the one thing you notice is, what's the thing we're cutting? We're cutting the study hall. Okay, we at Maury really take pride in having scholar athletes. Okay, you've seen it. You've seen the athletes that go through. We have, so far this year, 21. We'll probably wind up with 25 scholar athletes going on to the next level. But did you know that our last 3 valedictorians all played sports? Okay, our number 1 and number 2 this year both play sports. Our number 2 student was the first any boy or girl athlete to win a cross-country state championship. Okay, she would be here with me tonight, a little late, but they had to go down to, where did I have to send them? Lansdowne for track practice. We're trying to get another state championship with my indoor girls track team. And after this, I have to go up to Northern Virginia, see what my swim team can do. But we've given it to you to mull over, take a look at it, and see where we're coming from. But the biggest thing is we see a very, very negative aspect to this with it getting rid of the study hall. And I didn't edit this all. I put down exactly what the coaches and the kids put down so you can see what they really believe. And Jennifer, I beat you by 1 second. Thank y'all.
Still competitive.
So that does conclude our speakers for
Thank
this
you very
evening.
much to all of our speakers tonight, and we thank you for staying with us the late hours as we do the work for the school division. We definitely value your feedback and support. The last item that we have on the agenda is matters of the board, new business. Since we have already discussed matters regarding the superintendent search, I will open the floor to our board members. And also to Ms. Hanley, our student school board rep, for any further comments.
I do have one. Congratulations, Dr. Birdsong. I'm very happy that you are a superintendent because starting in this position back in, what was it, October, I'd say, you've taught me a lot, and I've learned a lot working alongside you and everyone else on the board. With you being our superintendent, I would say Norfolk Public Schools now has a second mother that we'd be proud of. So, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Ms. Basine?
Yeah, I think it was last week, it was the night of the special call meeting. Prior to coming to the meeting, I had attended the city council retreat and specifically wanted to hear their update on the St. Paul's transformation. And I just want to get it on our agenda at some point to receive a similar update about that. They talked a lot about, questions. Well, they had questions around, how this was impacting families and the 2,200 students that will be ultimately impacted by the public housing changes, and how children are moving, where they're moving to, and how they're keeping track of those students. And they recently just hired a education specialist. And so one of the things I just want to, we said earlier that we were going to be very intentional about keeping a very close eye about, how those changes are impacting our students and families. And I want to bring that back up so that we receive a thorough update. I wasn't able to stay for the whole update during that meeting, but would like for us to be more engaged in those conversations.
Comments? Well, Dr. Birdsong, once again, congratulations. Very happy and lucky to have you at the helm. And on that note, I will call this meeting adjourned.